Hey, Linda. It is December 6th, St. Nicholas Day. And let me open the regular meeting of the Board of Health, but we are starting with a public hearing. That is the first agenda item. It has been advertised. The public hearing was advertised to consider the Board of Health fee schedule. The notice of the hearing was in the Cape Codder on November 23rd of this year. Copies of the proposed fee schedule that we're going to discuss are available on the table in the room somewhere.
Yeah,
Right up there.
right here.
And the sequence that we're going to follow is, number one, our health agent, Mr. Canning, will review the proposed fee schedule. The board will then accept comments from the public, requesting that prior to giving any comments, please state your name and your affiliation. Then upon closing the hearing to the public comment, the Board of Health, our members will discuss the information received and will determine if any additional information is still required, if the proposed fee schedule should be amended, and then we'll vote to either approve or deny the proposed fee schedule. Just for the record, the Board of Health has held a hearing on exactly this on November 1st. There was a problem that at that time it was stated that it had been advertised twice. We found later that it hadn't been, so it doesn't really much matter. So we hadn't entirely lived up to the letter of the law, and therefore we're doing it all over again. Mr. Canning, I wonder if you might give an overview of the fee schedule for this public hearing.
Sure. This hearing has been advertised in the Cape Codder. It was in the Cape Codder of November 23rd, 2007. I'll read through the changes. What I'll do is I'll read through all the fees and note the current fee and the proposed fee for each of the categories. Under food service, we have bed and breakfast. The continental breakfast, it's currently $50. The proposed fee is $50. Limited breakfast permit, $50. The proposed fee is $50. Continental breakfast for motels, this would be no on-site cooking, $50. The proposed fee is $50. Catering permit currently is $50, proposed is $50. Temporary food service, existing is $50, proposed is $50. Residential kitchen, retail sales, that currently is covered under our retail sales license, so this is a new category. There is no fee now. The proposed fee will be $50. The current fee that someone would be charged for that is $85 today under a retail license, so there's actually a reduction in that cost. Food service establishment, 0 to 49 seats, currently is $75, proposed is $100. 50 to 149 seats, currently is $100, proposed is $125. Greater than 150 seats, currently is $150, proposed is $175. Nonprofit food establishments, currently there's no fee, proposed is a $25 administration fee. Frozen dessert manufacturer, current fee $50, proposed fee $50. Mobile food, current fee $50, proposed fee, current fee $75, proposed fee $75. Retail food stores of less than 5,000 square feet is currently $85, proposed is $100. Retail food stores greater than 5,000 square feet currently is $110, proposed is $175. Sewage disposal, Disposal Works installer's license, currently $75, proposed $75. Disposal Works construction permit for new, and this would be per portion of 1,000 gallons, currently $100, proposed $100. Repair per portion of 1,000 gallons, currently is $50, proposed is $100. Minor repairs, that would be for repairing D-box, covers, septic tanks, currently is $50, proposed is $50. Septic transportation license, collection and transportation, $100 per truck. That will remain $100 per truck. Transportation only, $50 per truck. Proposed is $50 per truck. Soil observations, $50 per lot per hour. That proposed fee is $75 per lot per hour. Inspection on sale report, currently there is no fee. Proposed is $60 fee. Refuse collection license, $75 plus a sticker if you're disposing the refuse at the Orleans facility. The proposed fee, $75 plus a sticker if you're disposing at the Orleans solid waste facility. Tanning facilities, 1 to 5 devices, $65. Current, proposed, $65. 6 devices to 10 devices, currently $85, proposed $85. Over 10 devices, currently $100, proposed $100. Massage therapy. A massage therapist license, currently $50, proposed $50. Massage business, currently $50, proposed $50. Student massage therapist, currently $25, proposed $25. Motel license, currently $50, proposed $50. Public and semi-public swimming pools, currently $85, proposed $100. Camp cabin license, currently $50, proposed $50. Tobacco, a tobacco retail sales license, currently $20, proposed $50. Body art, new body art business license, $500, no proration is a current fee. The proposed fee, $500, no proration. Body art business license renewal, currently $300, proposed $300. Body art practitioner's license, currently $250, proposed $250. Under wells, well construction permit, currently $50, proposed $50. Well destruction permit, currently $20, proposed $20. Funeral director's license, currently $30, proposed $30. Board of Health, these would be the fees if adopted by the Board of Health that would go into effect on January 1st, 2008.
Let me ask the members of the board first, if any of you have any questions. We've all looked at these, discussed them before. Is there anything that you'd like to comment on before I open it to the public?
I have just one question,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Simpson.
With regard to food service permits, nonprofit establishment, is there a mechanism in place where a nonprofit organization can apply for a waiver of a fee?
The Board of Health doesn't have one, the Board of Selectmen does. We can adopt a provision if we'd like to, a policy.
Thank you.
Let me then ask the members of the public, is any member of the public here would like to comment upon the fee schedule? Mr. Daniels?
Paul Daniels. It's not, I just have a question on the septic. Septic transportation license, I understand. Collection and transportation, but I don't understand transportation only. What does that mean?
Maybe you could explain that, the trucks.
Periodically, we have companies who, for example, will pump up in Provincetown, would transfer onto a trailer, and that trailer would come to Orleans to dispose at the Tri-Town. They're not actually pumping in Orleans. That company would not have a pumping license in Orleans. They would just be transferring to our town and disposing at the Tri-Town.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments, advice, challenges from the members of the public? Most of whom seem to be named Daniels, as far as I can tell. Hearing none.
Mr. Chairman, there apparently being no further public comment, I would move that we close the public comment portion of the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion of that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
500, it is closed. It is now open for board members for our own comments before we approve this and get it off the table. Any other questions, comments, suggestions, modifications?
No.
Cassie, sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the regulations as proposed and held today at a public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Did the mover mean to include the effective date of January 1 in the motion?
Yes, I did.
Has been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5-0-0. The fee schedule, as we have labored over it, and as it has twice been approved, will now stand. That is 2:15, and we will move on. The next agenda item is the public and press. Are there any members of the public who are here to speak to the board on any issue? Sir, if you'd identify yourself and let us know.
My name's Dave Otis, I'm on the agenda, I believe.
Oh,
Is that possible?
well, hang on.
That's item number 3 on the agenda,
Yes,
Mr.
you're
Chair.
next.
I'm next? Okay.
You are
Yes,
on
next.
our
For
agenda.
public comment.
Okay.
You want to talk? I mean, is it a public comment or is it?
No, it's not a public comment, it's a private.
That's in John's Way.
Yes, that's right.
We will get to you.
Okay, good.
That has been advertised, and that is a variance request. Now, this is for the public, if there's anybody here who wants to talk about any other issue. Hearing none. Bob, the variance, was there a time stated, or can we just move right on?
No,
to
we
that?
can move right on.
You just jumped the gun.
I just jumped the gun.
Again, if you would identify yourself, and tell us what the issue is. I'm told there's something of an emergency with the well.
There kind of is. My name is David Otis, I'm at 8 Johns Way. I have, and previously, I had asked for a variance, and I had received it for a redrilling of my well in the same location. When the application for the permit was submitted, apparently there was some concern about the well being too close to a thoroughfare of some kind. And so that's why I'm here this afternoon.
Ms. Canning, if you bring us back up to date, I remember the discussion, I remember that.
Mr. Otis was before the Board of Health in January of this year, requesting the board grant the variance to the requirement that a site plan be drawn by a registered professional civil engineer, registered sanitarian, or land surveyor, outlining where the system would go, or where the well would go, and noting any other property lines, building sewer lines, foundations in relation to that well. Board of Health granted that variance with conditions that the well has to be tested prior to the new well being installed, and the well cannot be moved any closer to the property lines. That variance is granted with the understanding that the well meets all existing distance requirements, as explained by Mr. Otis. When the application for the permit came in, was filled out by Jenkins Engineering, it showed that it was 11 feet from the road layout, not the edge of pavement, or in this case, the edge of the pathway, but from the road layout. The Orleans Board of Health regulations requires 25 feet to the edge of a road layout. So the proposed well is 14 feet too close to a road layout. In that, the board's action was taken with the understanding that it met the Board of Health regulations. I felt that it should come back before the Board of Health for a variance request for the well to be constructed 11 feet from the edge of a road layout where 25 feet is required.
So it would need a
Variance.
14-foot variance.
That's correct.
Could I say something at
Yes.
this point? I 20 minutes ago went out and measured from the well to the roadway. It's 29 feet. There is a path that my neighbor uses occasionally to take vehicles to a stockade, which is, I measured 15 feet, but it's not a roadway, it's not a driveway, it's just something that he's used so that there is a worn down area for his vehicles and his boats and things like that, but it's not a road. It's 29 feet, my best, I used the tape measure, from the well to the private road, John's Way, which at that point is only we only use it. The road, there's only 2 people who use the road, and from the point that I brought out, it was, I guess it's considered a road, but it could be my driveway as well. But it's still 29 feet.
of the 25 feet that you cited and the 29 feet Mr. Otis cited, is that the difference in measurement, or are we talking about different?
Again, we don't have a current engineering plan on this. The board granted that variance, but submitted with the well application is a earlier plan from an engineer, and that is part of the Board of Health's packet item 3-1, and it would be I guess, the fourth page in that packet item. And that shows John's Way as being 11 feet away from the existing well.
I have some pictures, although that will not show exactly the distance. It will show, well, you'd have to kind of interpret.
I think what the,
Okay, let me, what I usually do at this point, Mr. Otis, if I may, I ask the
Yes.
board members each to comment, and we'll get back to you. Let's start with you, Sims, right?
I think what we need to do here is make the distinction between the layout and the roadway itself. And the edge of the layout and the edge of the roadway are seldom in the same place. When I saw this plan before, when this was here in January, it was clear to me that the well was within the setback requirements, and when I saw this come up again, I was a little surprised, because it was my expectation that that was part of the variance that we had granted in January. It certainly was, the well is presently sited too close to the layout, but the layout is a paper road. It is in effect there just to create the frontage
Yeah, right.
for Mr. Otis's and the abutters lots. It is, for all practical purposes, a driveway. And the well being on the highest point, I think this is something that really should have been dealt with in January. I don't, in my mind, part of my positive vote for the variance.
So you're gonna be concerned? Sue?
Is there indeed a cul-de-sac there, or is it just on the paper?
Excuse me?
A cul-de-sac, which is that round
Yeah.
thing. Is there indeed that cul-de-sac?
Yes, there is a circle,
There is a circle there.
yes.
So I wonder if that is the case, you know, it would be one thing if it was the road and that the cul-de-sac was was a paper cul-de-sac.
I mean, I when this came up in January, I drove in and had a look around.
Oh, I had not done that.
And it was, I mean, it's, you know, it's two houses next to each other at the end of a dirt road, and there's a little wide spot to turn around. It's within the bounds of the cul-de-sac on paper.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's out in God's country. It's not as if there's gonna be a lot of runoff from a paved surface.
No, I
The
just.
well
I-
is uphill from, the head of the well is uphill from
Yeah.
where the.
I was just asking for
Right, that's-
clarification, because very often there are things that are paper cul-de-sacs. In fact, I used to live on a paper cul-de-sac, so I know it quite intimately.
Is there any other questions or comments? Sue?
No, that,
Oh, that's okay.
Yes, is this a re-drilling in the same spot where the other well was? So you had a head failure or something?
Yes.
And the second, one of the requirements was that it be tested. Has this been tested?
Yes.
Or that happens after it's drilled?
It happened because the board required it, so I had it
Okay.
done.
No, I don't have a problem, and when you finish polling, I'll make a motion if you want.
Robin?
no issues or problems?
Are any abutters present who would like to comment on this? Hearing none. Any further discussion? Mr. Otis, I think we're ready to vote without seeing pictures and getting sidetracked. It just seems to me like a very small change. You make the motion, you make it 14 feet.
Fine, I'm, in the matter of 8 Johns Way, owner David Judith Otis. The findings are this is an emergency situation. This is a re-drilling of an existing well. And upon further examination, it appears that it is going to require variance for a distance from the road layout or the road, or whichever is the greater. Therefore, move that we grant the variance of 14 feet for the location of a re-drilling of this well. 11 feet are provided from the road layout, 20 are necessary.
Second.
It is seconded, moved and seconded. Any other discussion by the board members? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5-0-0.
Thank you very much.
Get a big shovel and start digging.
I will.
Before it's covered with snow.
May you break through the ground, Mr.
Our next item is another advertised variance on 21 Clayton Circle.
Do not see Miss Griffin here.
I'm sorry?
Let's jump to Brick Road.
And we shall go on to 8 Brick Hill Road, which is another variance request. And I do see
Stephanie, I am here.
my friend Stephanie Sequin.
We can share this.
If you would identify yourself, Ms. Sequin.
Oh, yeah,
And
okay.
tell us your story. Would you mind closing that door? The amount of noise we're getting from outside is ridiculous. I'd be very grateful. Thank you.
That's my committee that's been meeting since 7 o'clock this morning, my dear.
Well, tell them that they should go home and go to bed.
Actually, I
Just
suggested
leave the
that.
other one, just in case people want to come in.
Oh, why is he so testy today?
Stephanie Siglin representing the Sassos. They are the owners of the house at 8 Briscoe Road.
Brisk meeting.
There's an existing 4-bedroom house on the property. There is a 78 code system that has failed. There are 2 wetland areas, one pond that is partially located on their property on the southwest corner, and there's also another wetland across the street to the east. The 100-foot buffers from these 2 wetland areas I've highlighted. This is the only area that's outside of the 100-foot buffer. So we've positioned a new leaching system as basically centered between the 2 wetlands so we can maximize the distance from both wetlands. What we end up with is one corner of the leaching system 82 feet from the pond, another corner of the leaching system 82 feet from the wetland across the street. So we're requesting 18-foot variances from the Board of Health regulations that require a 100-foot setback. We comply with Title V completely, with all other Board of Health regulations, with that one exception. There is an existing 1,000-gallon septic tank that will remain in use, and it's just we're replacing the leaching pit. They will have to relocate the water line. Right now, where it comes into the building, it actually crosses the building sewer. So we will correct that situation as part of the project. And this has been approved by the Conservation Commission. As far as the impact from the proposed system to these 2 wetland areas, based on the soil logs, I would say that both these wetlands are perched wetlands. In the 2 test holes that we did, we dug down. There's layers of loam and clay and then good clean sand down at a depth of about 18 feet. We had no water encountered to an elevation of elevation 32. The pond and wetland elevations are somewhere around elevation 48. So in these test holes where the system is going, we dug down 16 feet below that level and didn't encounter water. So it doesn't appear that there's any hydraulic connection between the leaching system and either of these wetlands.
Stephanie, on this map, just could you hold it up and show me where the 82 feet are that should be 100, where the variance is requested? On the map, I just want to show it in the right
Is
place.
that what you mean, 82 feet from
Okay,
the
that one.
pond?
Okay, that's the one. Okay, just want to
Okay.
make sure I was looking in the right place. Thank you. Ms. Canning, do you have any questions from your standpoint?
The only thing I would add, the existing 1,000-gallon tank is 6 feet from the existing foundation. I would recommend the Board of Health also entertain the variance of 4 feet, just to clarify that point. 10 feet is required, so.
That goes back to when this addition was added, I believe in 2005. At that time, you
They did
measured
get a
to the
variance at that point?
No, they measured, you were allowed to measure to the inside of the cellar wall.
Yep,
And
which
and this
was-
is basically a solid pour. But the board reviewed the construction of that addition at that distance.
Definitely 10 feet from the inside of the foundation.
So you have a thicker foundation wall
Right.
then? Okay.
Stephanie, would you like us to vary it so that in future times, we don't have to have a big deal about looking back into
It
the
would
distant
probably
dark past?
clarify things for the future.
We sell 2 variances for the same price as we
Okay.
sell
Okay,
a
we got
lot.
a special going today.
I don't think the abutters will care one way or the other.
Let me ask the board members. I'll start on my left this time. Robin, do you have any questions,
No.
comments? Gussie?
The problem, I think whoever makes the motion should include that the covenant restriction maintained as part of this,
Well,
on your letter of November 21st, 07.
There already is a
No,
four-bedroom
I
covenant
would like to
Is
make sure that's
still in
retained.
effect.
oh, yeah, well, I'm see what you're saying.
I don't think there are a lot of choices, because there's not a lot of places that you can put that system.
Actually, we could have a sewer system for our town. What a good idea.
Just as long as nobody talks about tight tanks, I'll be happy. Sims, you have any questions, comments?
Couple of details. Is this what's known locally as Brick Hill Road Extension?
Yes.
Yes.
And on the plan, the typical profile notes a 1,500-gallon tank.
Mm-hmm.
That's a generic drawing, yes?
That
Since
is
you-
probably a typo, because on the other side, existing
Says
1,000-gallon tank,
1,000.
so yeah, that is an existing 1,000-gallon. You're right.
Here, let's get that corrected if we could, so we don't have any misunderstandings in the future. That's it for me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Are there any abutters present who would like to comment? Any other discussion? Anyone? Anybody willing to make a motion on this?
I'll make a
Two
motion.
variances,
Okay, in the matter of,
8 Brick Hill Road.
I had it.
Trying to get things
He's
moving.
moving
Well,
along.
We're doing it.
We're doing it, Jan. In the matter of 8 Brick Hill Road, the findings are that this is a 29,000, what is it, 29? Yeah, a 237 square foot lot, which is between a pond and a wetland across the street, that there's very little space in which to put a leaching system, and this appears to be the best solution for this particular site. And so consequently, we are granting a 18-foot variance from the pond and a 18-foot variance from the wetland across the street, and also a 4-foot variance from the foundation, which presently is at 6 feet. It was part of an addition that was placed. And just to clarify this, that is going to be part of the motion, and because 10 feet are required. And also there's
4,000-gallon septic tank.
and a 1,000-gallon septic tank, which will remain. And then the covenant restricts, the existing covenant, which will remain in place, restricts the property to a 4-bedroom house. This was a requirement of the board at the time that the applicant came before them for an addition April 7th, 2005.
I will second that. Is there any further discussion?
Would we like to include in the findings, Mr. Chairman, that the wetlands appear to be perched?
That might be a good phrase to add, Brenda. Thank you. Any other discussion or comments or suggestions or additions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You got them both?
Yeah, you did.
5-0. Thank you very much.
Are you going back to the previous one?
I don't believe she's here.
You here for that?
No.
There's no,
Or are we
somebody
going to the
missing.
next?
I think we're still going, she's not here, so.
Yeah, we may as well, the question was asked, for those who didn't hear it, there's a variance request advertised for 21 Clayton Circle, and there's nobody showed up for that, so we'll just keep moving with those for which we have the cast of characters, like the approval request for 33 Monument Road. Is that your next
Yes,
issue, Ms. Sigmund?
You're gonna have to get a bigger bag, Stephanie.
I know. This was a tight squeeze.
That's not like in Titanic.
Stephanie Sequin again, representing Brian and Gretchen Tanzer. This property is on Monument Road, opposite the end of Pond Road, where Pond Road comes into Monument. There's a house that sits right there on the street. Back in 1999, there were variances granted to allow the installation of the septic system that's shown on this plan. We are now proposing to construct an addition on the north end of the property. We do not have room for a reserve area. We're expanding the footprint of the building. Title V says we need to, if we're expanding the footprint of the building, we need to show a reserve area. If I were to show a reserve area, it would not comply with something, either the setback to the building or something. So rather than showing a reserve area that doesn't comply in some way, we're requesting approval of the expansion in the footprint without showing a reserve area. Where the addition is going is largely within the 100-foot buffer to the wetland, so it's not likely that that area would be used as a future leaching system. That, along with the steep slope in this area, would kind of preclude it from being a feasible location for a leaching system. It is a 5-bedroom house now. There's I included a sketch showing the existing floor plan. On the first floor, there is a den that meets your criteria as being considered a potential bedroom. On the second floor, there are 4 bedrooms, so we have 5 bedrooms total. On the north end of the building is what they call a studio. That is, it's sort of a self-contained room. It does not have direct access to the building, and it doesn't have.
3 bedrooms on the second floor. You said 4.
What that plan shows is that dashed
Oh, is the
wall
dashed
is an
line.
existing, a wall that's going to be removed to combine 2 rooms into one big one.
Gotcha.
The addition that we're proposing will have a bath and shower facility, so it will be considered, they're going to continue to use it as a studio, but it will be considered meet the standard for a potential bedroom. So to keep the number of bedrooms at 5, no net increase, they are proposing to combine 2 of the upstairs bedrooms into one bedroom.
So there's no change in the number of bedrooms, but
Correct.
there is a change in the footprint. There was no reserve area before, and there won't be any reserve area afterwards.
Right.
Bob, any questions, comments, thoughts, suggestions?
A few. With regard to the room upstairs in the studio, you're eliminating that wall in bedroom number 1, so you could create the second room in the studio.
Right.
I don't know the floor plan that well outside of this, but it would appear you have to walk into bedroom 1 to get to the area that you're eliminating.
Yes,
No.
that's,
I think the 2 bedrooms that are called bedroom 1 must be a mirror image of bedroom 2 and 3.
oh, okay.
Okay.
My take is that the door with the dotted line is being removed like the wall with the dotted line.
Right,
Right.
but per the sketch plan, you have to walk into bedroom 1 to get to the wall and the door,
Which will be
meaning
gone.
bedroom 1.
No, but you see, what's happened is the
I'm looking
opening
across
is
the
further
stairway,
down.
Bob.
Yeah.
As the 2 doors are back to back on a very small wall,
Mm-hmm.
I see the same arrangement off the
I see.
stairwell.
Okay, so you're saying that the opening is actually into
Yeah,
the hallway?
there's
Okay.
an opening to the hallway that's going to be eliminated.
Okay, good.
So take down one wall and plug a hole.
Okay. We also have the office study downstairs,
Mhm.
which would be a bedroom.
1, 2, 3, 4.
4,
That's 4.
that's 4,
Right.
and the studio becomes
And then
5.
In the studio, you're saying that that would be a total of 1 bedroom
Right,
versus-
between the 2 rooms,
Okay.
because,
you're adding the full bath?
right.
Okay, good. And just on the plan, Stephanie, in the area where the where the addition is going on, there is some land up there that complies with the code. Would that be a feasible area for a soil absorption system? That would be in the northern corner.
No,
There's
'cause it-
not enough room, 20 feet off the existing building, 10 feet off the property line, to get the 550 gallon per day capacity.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Plus, the grades are very steep there, and it just, doesn't work that well.
Let me again go through the board members. I'll start far right. Sims, any questions, comments? thoughts?
Question for the health agent. In the 1999 plan that the applicant's agent has referenced, was there a variance at that time for the lack of reserve area?
There must have been.
So I'm
Yeah, in 1999, the Board of Health granted variances. The leaching facility was 77 feet to a wetland. Leaching facility was 55 feet to an irrigation well. At that time, we required 100 feet. And the leaching facility is proposed to be 40 feet from a drainage system discharging into a wetland where 50 feet is required. So we did grant those variances in 99. Board did not have conditions on those.
But there was a condition for the lack of a reserve area? There was a variance for the lack of a reserve area at that time?
A
No.
reserve area was not required at that time.
Okay.
Because it was just an upgrade with no increase in flow, no change in footprint.
Got it. Thank you.
Susan?
No.
Those are-
Understand.
Those variances hold. We don't have to do those again.
That's correct.
I'm fine.
I think that if the system had to be replaced, it would be best in the current location, so I'm fine with it too.
So basically, if it had to be replaced, it had to be dug up. And are there any abutters present? Seem not. Seeing none. Any other discussion, any questions? Darcy, you want to make a motion? Do make a motion, please.
Over the matter of 33 Monument Road, we grant the request for the expansion and note that its location will not interfere with any future septic replacement needs. And we also determined, because of the reconstruction of bedrooms, that the bedroom count totally will not change.
I'll second that. Any
Oh, okay, I was going to second it, but that's all right, you can.
got that first.
Okay, yes, you did.
A long agenda. Any other discussion on the motion which has now been made? Hearing none, let us vote.
You're not going to do something.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5-0-0. You want these?
I might as well.
They're good to us. Good shot, I guess.
Scored.
Stephanie, you on for the Main Street Deli too? Ryder and Wilcox?
Yes,
Looks like your
I
signature.
was, yes it is, I was expecting Ron Smith here, so could we
You want to go
skip
on
ahead?
to the condos and we'll again do that out of turn?
Yes.
Is that okay, Bob? I mean,
Unless
anybody-
there's
would
some-
anybody object if we
those
just
two?
could,
Are we trying to set a record today? This is unbelievable.
I tell you, I think we got a record in the length of the agenda in some ways, but
Nah, this is nothing. I've been here for a two-pager.
I know, I have
I'm already in trouble for making Ms. Christie jump along. Okay. We're going to wait for the Main Street thing. I'm going to Skakit Beach once again. We have visited that location before, I think.
Yes, Stephanie Sequin again, representing the estate of Loretta Donovan and Paul Cassatt. I assume you all remember this situation.
Yes, vividly.
Seems like a long time ago, you granted variances for the upgrade of, for the installation of a system to serve 2 of the buildings, 3 units. The variances were 5 feet to the property line, 5 feet to a water service. We reduced the capacity of the leaching system by 42%. The leaching system was 55 feet from the top of a coastal bank. The septic tank and pump chamber were less than 50 feet from the coastal bank, and the bottom of the leaching system was 4.3 feet above the maximum estimated groundwater elevation. Those variances were all granted. As it turns out, with the, this had to go to DEP for their approval. The combination of the reduction of the leaching area and the reduction in the separation to groundwater If we'd done either one of them, that would have been fine, but combining those two variances triggered a variance review by DEP. So DEP reviewed it, and I think, to make a long story short, what the easiest solution was to change the configuration of the leaching system. We originally had a plastic chamber system. I've changed that to a shallower leaching field system, so I'm able to keep the bottom of the system 5.1 feet above the estimated maximum groundwater elevation. In order to get the leaching area that I need to meet that, still the 42% reduction, it's now stretched out in a longer area. It's a little bit narrower than it was originally, so we've actually increased the setback to the top of the bank from 55 feet that you granted to 58 feet. So it's a change in the variance, but not a reduction in the separation that you already approved. So, and the big thing is we eliminated that one variance that you did grant. The separation to groundwater is no longer needed as a variance. So I guess I'm asking for your review and acceptance, I guess, of this revised plan. I did prepare I revised the variance request, and I tried to put in bold letters, I don't know how well they stand out, the differences in the new variances.
So it's just 3 feet more is what you're asking.
The variance is actually 3 feet
Feet
less.
3 feet less.
Our separation is more, so our variance is less. So that's a good thing.
58 rather than 55 feet.
And eliminating that separation to groundwater.
So that variance is gone because we don't need it anymore, and the other variance is somewhat less anyway.
Right.
Mr. Canning, tell us about this. It seems like a good
Well,
thing.
I talked to Stephanie, and there's a change in the variances that the board granted. It's a change in the system that the board granted.
Mm.
We figured that Stephanie will come to the board today to see if the board feels that another variance hearing is required, or if the board feels that this is within the scope of the variance that was granted, and accept the changes as required by the state as part of the existing variance proposal.
I think that if we grant a variance for X, is like lending her $100, and she only spends $88, you know, that's a good thing. It's coming in less than we give her permission to do. I think this is a moot point.
They want less. So rarely do people come here and beg
Yeah.
for less,
Yeah.
and we've already given. Let me ask the members of the board in turn. Gussie, any other questions while I have you?
No,
on
I think,
the spot?
say blessings on you, Stephanie, my dear. Thank you, DEP, on a state level. Let's move on.
Is that the motion? Well, I'll come back
Not
to that.
yet.
Susan?
Now, I'm confused. Have you gone from an IA system to a regular system?
No,
You have not?
we have
So
not.
it will continue to be an IA
We
system?
still have the IA system with nitrogen reduction
Okay.
and pressure distribution.
Okay.
We still need that because of the reduction in the leaching capacity.
Okay, all right. Just wanted clarification on that.
Sims?
Is there a significant difference in the number of square feet of ground that will be disturbed in this process?
There is a larger area of disturbance associated with this field system than the chamber system. Is it significant? The increase is in this direction, which is within the gravel driveway area. We
Okay.
haven't increased it in this direction, which is the vegetated area.
Okay.
So the dunes are going to be intact still?
Because it's longer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
elongating it. somewhat.
Right.
Mm.
Sims, any?
I can't find any way to find that this isn't an improvement over what was proposed previously.
Mm.
Hooray.
I
Robert?
agree.
It is not a variance request, so we don't need to ask for
Do we need
butters, though I
To
see
move to
none.
approve the plan?
I assume we should have a motion to approve the changes. Do I have such a motion?
So moved.
Second, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Go off and do less.
Like like zoning. You can't make it more restrictive, but you can make it less restrictive.
Yeah, right.
I don't know, it's nice. I just didn't want to go back to the Skagit Beach condominiums.
So what should we do about item 5 and item 7 on the agenda?
Well, Stephanie is here for item 7. I don't know if,
If there is there other business that you can,
Yeah, we can
okay,
chop
and
on.
I'll try and give him a call. I think I told him 3 o'clock. For some reason, I still have 3 o'clock in my head, and I don't remember that it's 2:15, so
Well,
I,
it's-
There are no times, let's move on.
Well, we have, we can keep chugging on,
okay,
and
thank you.
we'll let you in some point that's convenient. The next thing on the agenda, at item number 9, we really are moving on, this is ridiculous, is 110 Beach Road.
they're expecting to come in around 3.
Okay.
Can't do that one either. And do we just go to your,
Mr. Chairman, you're a victim of your own efficiency.
I'm sort of feeling a little bit chastised and mortified. Susan, would you like to continue whatever it was you were saying that I'm,
I've forgotten what it was I was saying.
It keeps you humble, Jan.
No, no, it's- you-
I've got a suggestion.
you're looking for an address, that's what you're looking for. Anyway,
I
yes.
suggest we approve the minutes of October 21st.
Yes.
Well, I have some questions about those. Well, let's get to there's 3 sets of minutes that we were going to consider. The first of them is, or are, the 21st. I just felt that I was there, it says, in February, in October 2004, but I was a little bit confused reading them.
4, 5, 6, 7, that's more than 3 years ago, Jan. You know something? There comes a point when one has to just bite the proverbial bullet. I move that we accept the minutes of October 21st, 2004, realizing that 3+ years have passed, and let's move on.
If it's a move to accept, then I can second.
Is there any discussion? I'll just eat my words.
Accept and approve are different.
Well, you said you can't, you certainly weren't a member, so.
Now, on a point of order, Mr. Chairman, since there is a quorum of people that were present then,
You better not do that, you better not. Let's see who is present. The rest of us have, well, you're here, Robin?
Everyone
The only
but
one
Sims
who wasn't.
McGrath.
It wasn't here, was it?
I mean,
No,
the
you're
point
right.
is, this is 3+ years.
Yeah.
I cannot vouch 110% for the accuracy of everything's in here, although I'm trusting that it is. It was on tape recordings, et cetera. I would feel a lot better by accepting these minutes and moving on.
It seemed to me that there were a series of issues here where they never actually listed the subject upon which that they were making reference to. You know, suddenly we heard but that's okay, I will live with it. I will second the motion. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Just get them off the table.
Accept
Did we all vote
Yeah.
when we weren't there?
No, just 3 of us.
you can, no, you
No,
can.
3.
Oh, we can
everyone
vote to accept?
Vote to accept.
Okay, all right, so
Only
I'll
the
vote.
people who are present can vote to approve.
I know, okay, thank you.
There is a quorum of us.
And then what we do in the back.
Marcy and Susan and I were there, and we can approve it, and we are threesome. And so does
Now,
our-
how do we
Robin.
deal with the
No,
back
I wasn't
page
there.
which says date of
That's all.
approval? Cross it out and say date of acceptance and everybody sign?
The person was there. I don't know. Let's just accept and do everybody, because there's a
All right,
confusion
we'll
over
vote- we'll
whether I
change
was
again.
there or
It's
not.
acceptance.
I'm listed in the beginning, I'm not
No,
listed on the
you were not
signature.
there.
I am listed here. Bob
Yes,
just
you're
pointed out.
listed, present. Dr. Schneider, Ms. Christie,
I was
Ms.
never-
I
Davis.
noticed that in the minutes, it says that we
I was never at a meeting with him.
we said something nice about Gail Rainey somewhere
Yes, right at the
at the
beginning.
top. We said something nice about
He took his place.
Steve Kenny, who's recovering from surgery.
Right.
That's because it's 2004. These are all mixed up, Jan. I don't think we can ever reconstruct these.
No.
I made a motion, it was seconded, it was passed. We'll simply ask for a separate sheet of paper that says these were accepted on today's date, and everybody can sign it, and we can move on.
I will live with that. There's no way in the world you were there.
No, I
Mr.
was,
Chairman?
I think he, I may have been, but he
I
wasn't.
think in light of the movers finding that these were more than 3 years, that the meeting for these minutes was more than 3 years ago, I think that's reasonable grounds to accept rather than approve.
Okay, well, that's what Gus had said. Let's do it again. Move that they be accepted.
On the grounds that these minutes are more than 3 years old, I move that this current board accept them.
I will second that. Any discussion on the acceptance motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It has unanimously been approved to accept these minutes of 2004.
That was the first motion also, was to accept them.
All right. Now, it's been moved
So
twice.
we're covered twice.
That really does it well.
I will get a signature page to the Board of Health at the next meeting clarifying
Excellent.
that
Fine.
you're accepting the minutes.
We have two more. If we should do each of them twice, we'll keep
I
saying.
we can do that one the
I
third
move we approve the minutes of November 1st, 2007.
I will second that. Is there any discussion on the minutes of
No,
November
I have no
1st?
issue with these. I remember these.
Just like it was yesterday.
Yes, it does.
These recent events.
It was less than a
As
month ago.
minutes of November 15th. Do I have a motion to approve them?
We didn't vote on the
We
first.
never
We
voted.
didn't? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
500.
One abstention, actually, 401.
You weren't there,
I was not present.
We'll accept the 401, okay?
okay?
November
And I
15th.
remember this one, too.
Move it.
You weren't present.
Okay.
either,
I
apparently.
wasn't present.
I move that we approve
November 15th?
the minutes of November
November 1st.
15th.
Second.
You know what? I wasn't there on the first either. So it's another abstention. It's
Never had
302.
such trouble with minutes.
Oh, we've got enough.
Here we go.
Well, did you second?
Are there two sets here?
No. These two
No,
did it.
the
We're
others
fine.
are.
We got so fast, we went right off
You
track.
don't have to sign
Over
it.
the
Linda,
cliff,
who
into
moved
the
and
cliff.
seconded on the minutes of the first?
Okay.
Me?
I had to
Are
borrow
you
your pen.
taking notes on motions and seconds?
Who second November?
I didn't hear it, I was gonna
That's
catch
good.
it
It wasn't
up
me,
on the-
honest. It wasn't me.
It was
I heard the
me.
recording.
I wasn't there.
Okay.
I was in England. Okay. November 15th.
I've got it, Ms. McCusick, motion, and Dr. Davis seconded.
That's fine, and,
It's November 1st.
and it's 3 and 2 abstentions.
Yes.
3,
Yeah, 302.
I got that part.
I just didn't
Okay.
want one of the absentees being the second.
Oh,
I think you're wise to bring that to my attention.
okay.
November 15th, we were all there.
Mm-hmm.
And we've moved it and seconded it.
Who seconded it? Who moved it?
I did.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This one is 500, and it can stay that way.
Aye.
Okay.
Bob, what's it, if I'm excused, I don't sign it, correct?
That's correct.
That's true. Yes, sorry.
Draw a happy face. You want to do a health agents report while we wait?
The one item on the agenda, by the way, number 10, has been withdrawn, I'm told.
Oh, good.
So I suddenly realized it's kind of lost on the agenda page, but it should have
It
been.
was withdrawn completely?
No, it's been postponed, maybe.
No, I think it'll be on December 20th.
Because I was going to say that because of this, I think we ought to have a site visit. This person is clearly upset about a letter. I think we ought to go take a look and count bedrooms.
Okay, I was just there on Tuesday.
Oh, didn't know that.
No, you didn't.
We do.
We do.
There were 4 bedrooms in the main house, and then they have a studio. I can give the background on it. There were 4 bedrooms. Plan came in 1986. This is prior to our definition of bedrooms. Plan said 3 bedrooms in the main house, 1 bedroom studio. It was approved, it was installed. The inspection report we received in November, the inspector noted 4 bedrooms in the main house, 1 bedroom studio or studio. I looked at the report versus the plan. There was a conflict. I wrote an order to Mr. Wright regarding that. Mr. Wright asked us out for a site inspection. We're trying to resolve the issue. Indeed, there are 4 in the main house. This house is incredibly old. They've been there. And there is a studio set up as an office or study. It's has a full bath, has a built-in desk, and has adequate light ventilation. It's a separate unit by itself, 1 entry door. I met with the building commissioner, reviewed the building department records. It came in as a office studio, not as a bedroom. So there appears to be a question as to whether the original plans were accurately describing the property when it said a 3-bedroom house and a 1-bedroom studio. More likely, it was a 4-bedroom house plus an office studio, a total of 4 bedrooms. It was just approved differently. It was submitted differently in '86, so we had a conflict we're trying to resolve. Complicating the matter is the house has been sold already, so.
They've closed?
Apparently, it's already closed. So we're trying to resolve an issue on a number of
They didn't
bedrooms,
even advertise it.
so that we can clarify the record or take the appropriate action to have the system repaired.
If there are, I mean, it's gonna be repaired anyway,
No, they don't want to repair it.
but
The
if there are
system's
4
functioning
bedrooms,
fine.
if there are 4 bedrooms in the main house, for a total of 5, it will require a repair, I mean, a change in the system.
The system's not adequate for 5
Okay,
bedrooms,
so
correct?
it is a big deal, really.
The
so-
question is
It
is
is,
the
it
studio,
is adequate or not?
No,
it's
It's
not
not,
question is a studio, which was clearly the building permits show exactly as it is, set up as a office studio, not a studio apartment, is that, and was represented on the plans as being a 1-bedroom studio. Was that represented wrong on the site plan, and was it a 4-bedroom house? Because we've not been going back on properties where there is a den shown prior to our definition of a bedroom, and they have 3 bedrooms and a den, we would accept that as 3 bedrooms and a den. Here, we have a conflict because the approved plan says something different than what's there.
So this is coming back to us
It's likely come back December 20th.
December 20th? Okay, hold it then.
Oh, so we should hold.
I'm confused by the nomenclature you use as we go through that sequence of events. The building application was for an office studio.
It's for a studio, and the plans showed an office.
The reference used later on in your description was 1-bedroom studio.
That's what was on the site plan, 1-bedroom studio.
So it was titled one way on the application and another way on the site plan.
That's correct.
Now I understand, though I don't think I want to.
But it is coming back.
Okay.
We're gonna have to,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to learn about this just in time for Christmas. I think we should,
Christmas, you get a new septic system.
Sandra, please bring me a new septic system. Health agents report, I think that's where we are, and
Yes.
if Stephanie wants us to stop at some point, we'll find a place
Health
to
Agents
interject.
Report, December 6, 2007. First item regarding Erica Woods. I'm pleased to announce to the Board of Health that Erica has received her registered sanitarian credential. During her 1 year of employment, Erica has received the following credentials: Certified Food Protection Manager, Title V Soil Evaluator Certification, Certified Pool Operator, and Registered Sanitarian licenses. These certifications are the result of skills learned on the job, as well as a great deal of independent study done by
We're
Erica.
gonna have to get a bigger wall to put all our initials.
That's right.
Who's gonna get your office, Bob?
Okay, tomorrow we will. Please extend the congratulations of this board to our Assistant Health Agent,
We'll do that.
Erica Woods, who's done, really, she's been she's kind of having her around. She's done wonderfully. Thank you.
Licenses, we have a septic installer, MCE Dirtworks, Inc., Michael Escher. He's applied for a installer's license, and I recommend the board approve that.
So moved.
Second, any discussion, anything you want to tell us about him that we should know before voting?
No, this license is for the month of December. I mean, he would have to reapply in January, but apparently he has a job that he has to get done this month.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
500.
Flu clinics, flu clinic, item number 1, the annual flu clinics were held on November 28th and December 5th. We served a total of 600-plus individuals, just slightly over 600. The clinics were very organized and well-run. I'd like to thank the Health Department staff and the staff of the Council on Aging for a great effort in making these clinics successful. I think really the reason why the clinics go so well is the effort that's put in by, my staff and the Council on Aging. Just taking appointments, checking people in, having the staff there to direct people and help people fill out forms. They really go smooth.
When this was mentioned at a previous meeting, you had noted that you were hoping to use up a number of immunizations that you had available. How close did you get to that goal?
Not very close. We
Oh, really? So you have a lot
we
left
had
over?
About 250 left over.
Whoa.
So can
Brings
we all
me to-
get another shot?
Yes, both arms now. Which brings me to flu clinics, too. The town of Orleans, as well as several other towns, have additional doses of flu vaccine that weren't used at the clinics.
Africa.
My intention to contact one or two of the neighboring towns and see if we can put together one final clinic on a first-come, first-served basis to try to distribute the remaining flu vaccine,
Since I slept through the one on the 5th.
since you slept through the one on the 5th.
Metaphorically.
So we're going to try to put together one more clinic to see if we can use the flu vaccine. And on the completion of that, then we would return any excess vaccine to the state for their use.
Now, is it my understanding that if we don't use it all, it impacts what we will receive next year?
Well, we run that risk. The state has been giving us the doses that we used in previous years. The vaccine has been so available this year, and the state requested that we hold clinics in late November and early December. Many people went to drugstores, pharmacies,
I did.
shopping centers, their private physicians to receive the shots. They
Early.
didn't utilize the clinics as we have in the past. Just about every town, at least on Cape, is in that situation where their clinics are not as well attended as they were in previous years. I don't know if the state would cut back on the vaccine or not. Clearly, my goal is to use as much of the vaccine as we can. First, we want to protect the population. Secondly, we want to protect our allotment for next year.
Next year, it seems whether we have enough or not, we should tell people way up in front that there's a real shortage, and, that if you don't come. you know,
Limited supply, sign up now.
So this way we'll get hordes of people. But I read yesterday that they're giving them at the airport now. I mean, you
They're
get them.
giving them at the airport?
Coming in or going out?
I don't know which airport, they're giving them at the airport. One place has a drive-through clinic, which is what I suggested in the days when we were talking about emergencies, where people don't even have to get out of their cars.
Drive
All
by.
they have to do is shove an arm through an open window. So, you know, things are moving along. Bob, if you would extend our thanks on behalf of the board to your staff.
Here,
I
here.
really think they've done a wonderful
And
job.
the
And
Council
to
on
the
Aging as
Council on
well.
Aging. Should a letter go to the Council on Aging?
I think we could write a letter
It'd be
to
very
them.
nice if we did, and I'd be glad to sign it on behalf of the board. I mean, they've really been wonderful to ensure that so many of our town does get vaccinated.
Excellent. Annual licenses, in your packet, item number 12.1 is a list of the annual licenses that are issued by the Board of Health. I would recommend that the Board of Health approve these renewal licenses, conditioned upon receiving a complete application and application fee. The board votes, then as we process the licenses, we'll stamp them with your signature and send them out, and we won't have to bring them back for the board signature and list them off during the meetings. We've done this for the past number of years.
So moved.
Seconded, but my only regret is those of you who have not been on this board, when you have to sit here and sign hundreds of
Yes.
You
these.
just want to get even, don't you?
Yes,
So you're suggesting we should do that?
No.
Other than that, is there any discussion on this mass of licenses,
Okay.
which Mr. Canning has to vet? Any problem with any one of them we should think about, Bob?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
500.
And
Stephanie, do you?
looks like
ready
Stephanie's
for-
ready to go.
Which item is that?
211 Main Street?
number 7.
Item number 7. Let's go on then to that one, which we've held in abeyance. 211 Main Street. It's the Main Street Deli.
The East Orleans Deli.
East Orleans
Is it
Deli?
Main Street Deli. Stephanie Sequin again, representing Ron Smith, who is here now. Thank you for waiting. The East Orleans Deli is under agreement to be sold. We did a septic inspection. There is a, we weren't able to find any plans on file for the existing system, but there is a septic tank, D-box, and 2 leaching pits. At the time of the inspection, 1 pit was full, 1 was pretty much empty, and I think it was a factor due to the unlevel situation in the distribution box. But rather than trying to pursue approval of the board to maintain that existing system. If we were to correct it, Ron decided to just keep things simple and just put in a new system. The question here is, since this is a food service establishment, whether a grease trap will be required in this situation. You may, I don't know if any of you are familiar with exactly what goes on there. A large portion of the floor space is actually, they do sell wine and beer, I assume. It's actually strictly a retail floor space area, chips, there's soda machines and whatnot. There is obviously some food preparation. So we're just, and Ron is here and can maybe explain more specifically exactly what that entails and whether or not we need to include a full-blown grease tank, grease trap in the septic design. I will point out, for whatever it's worth, the system that I have designed will require a variance for the depth of cover over the leaching system based on where the pipes come out of the building now. Unless we put in a pump chamber, I will be in at a later date to request a variance to
So you're
allow
not doing
4
that
feet of
now?
cover. That's not now, but,
Bob, tell us about the grease trap in a place that clearly does prepare food, very good food, because I've had some. Thank you.
Title V, under section 15230, requires grease traps for kitchen flows at restaurants, nursing homes, schools, hospitals, and other facilities from which grease can be expected to be discharged. Anytime we've had a facility with a food service establishment license, we have made them come before the Board of Health for a determination of the need of a grease trap. The East Orleans Deli does prepare food product. It's also a butcher shop where they are cutting and preparing meats for the public. It's really for the Board of Health to decide whether this would fall under a category of a grease producer. Again, I would think that it is a considerable food establishment. It's not as some food establishments that the board has waived where they're serving frozen ice drinks or preparing food to a minimal degree. The argument can be made that they are not washing utensils to the extent that a restaurant would be washing utensils and may not be dealing with the fryer laters and high grease items. However, there is a considerable amount of food preparation that takes place in the facility.
Bob, am I correct that a grease trap in any environment, certainly one where there is food preparation, will preserve the longevity of the septic system once it's in the ground?
Sure. The function of a grease trap is to allow retention time for the grease to settle out of the waste stream prior to going into the septic tank and through the normal course of treatment.
And a new system is going, and anyway, it's not as if they have to disrupt something that is not going to be disrupted anyway.
I don't know what they'll have to do to the internal plumbing to direct the kitchen waste to the septic system, but otherwise the septic system is being upgraded.
Okay. Yossi?
I have a question. This only came up after listening to the selectmen's meeting last night, but I'm assuming that this area is going to be opened up and the square footage is going to be increased because the office area indicated as the quote office is now going to be incorporated into the square footing of what is all described as Unit 1.
That's the travel agency, isn't it? The travel agency is going to be part of the same, wasn't that
That's
the
what
discussion?
it sounded like.
oh, I'm
in the
not
selectmen's
aware of
meeting last
that
night.
at all.
It was, I saw the same thing. They're going to, this is clearly beyond what the variance is about, but they're going to expand the
Well,
size of the,
It's a two-part question.
yeah,
Um,
well, but
I mean-
still, it's a very good question.
Well, the reason I asked that is Ron, you're going out of business? And somebody else is gonna take over the space?
Yeah, I am, I'm gonna retire.
I don't blame you, I'm going to, someday I'm going to too.
33 years is a long
Yeah.
time. But the thing of it is this gentleman, I'm not sure what he's gonna do or when he's gonna do it. He just applied for it, but with the Board of Health, like what Stephanie said, that instead of saying, because one pit was empty, I said, well, let's do this, put in a new pit, but if this gentleman's gonna, put in something else, I don't wanna put something in for him. This is for me to sell the building right now. So, you know, I wanna be up to code with the building now. But if this gentleman's gonna, add on or do something later, I think it should be his responsibility, not mine, to make something bigger now.
Yeah, that's my concern, because I heard last night, you heard the same thing, that this is going to be, everything described here as Unit 1 is going to be all one area, and the travel agency's going to be gone. So we're now dealing with providing proper sanitation to a larger square footage. But we don't even know what he's gonna do in
Well,
there.
What he wanted to do is just put the wine in there. He's
Have a
not gonna
wine
make
shop.
it Wine shop.
Yeah.
He's
See-
not going to,
Yeah.
what I understood, he's just gonna eventually go in there and put, you know, wine in, and put, more groceries, but not cooking or anything like that.
Yeah, I hear, it's not my turn to comment yet, I just need some clarification. Well, my concern is this: number one, we have, an owner declaring that, you know, he's not gonna be doing what he currently is doing, that would probably require a grease trap if he was gonna continue to do what he's doing. Two, we've got somebody coming in, we don't know what they're gonna do, and it's gonna be in a bigger spot, and as long as there's physical space in here to add what he might need, I think we just give him a functioning Title V. Does that sound off the wall? Might be,
I'll
but
tell you my thoughts in a moment.
Yeah, okay.
Sims,
Well, and if I may follow up as a clarification on, because I did not have a chance to enjoy the experience of the selectmen's meeting that others seem to have. I understand that the prospective purchaser may be expanding into the other unit with the wine and increasing the square footage for more groceries. What's not clear in the discourse here is, are they going to continue the sandwich preparation?
Yes, they're gonna,
So-
it's
so-
still gonna be the same amount of sandwiches I've had there, unless he cuts down on it, but there's not, you know, there's no cooking, there's, you know.
But there's every expectation that the business is going to run pretty much as it runs now, but it may occupy some more square footage.
Correct.
Oh, no butcher shop, though.
No butcher shop?
No, he might cut a little meat, I'm not sure.
I'm sorry to jump in line, but
Sorry.
my concern here is, you know, the area around Meeting House Pond is one of the most highly impacted marine estuaries in the Pleasant Bay system. And from my fairly basic understanding of elements that contribute to the nitrogenous compounds in the ground, it's the animal fats that make grocery store septic systems so tremendously high in nitrogen counts.
Right, right.
So I'm inclined, my knee-jerk reaction on this is that, you know, I'm happy to grant a variance on the cover so that we can skip the pump chamber if a grease trap would go in. On the other hand, I don't want to pin a selling business owner with a tremendously expensive septic system when, you know, he's here sort of as a gesture of goodwill. Let's just do it right instead of just fixing up what's in the ground. So I'm a little conflicted here. I'd like to see Meeting House Pond protected to the greatest degree possible, because it is going to be a while before big pipes get in the ground. But I really don't want to pin the applicant's financial ears back.
Susan?
What's involved to add a grease trap later?
Or
We'd
fiscally now.
we'd have to make sure there was room for it. It's a separate, basically a second
whole
septic
septic tank.
tank. So I'd have to just make sure there was room for it, and at that point, the plumbing would have to be, rerouted so that the kitchen plumbing bypassed the septic tank and went directly into the grease trap. I think in this situation, it would be a delicate operation to try and excavate for a second tank. We don't have a whole lot of room. So even if on paper there was room for that second tank, from a practical standpoint, excavating close to the
Yeah.
existing tank to put the second one in later would be a little tricky.
What
Easier
else
to
would
do
you-
it now rather than later?
Yes.
Lot easier. Robin, then I might want to make a comment, then Mr. Smith.
I just noticed at one point you said full-blown grease trap. So I was wondering, are there any,
Yeah, well,
Half-assed.
an alternative is,
are there variations
Are they
in
half
size?
cones?
Or
Half-baked,
considering
no.
that this isn't as.
And I am not that familiar with these devices, but there are, under the sink grease collectors.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's an option or what that then triggers if there's some other, procedurally some other thing.
Do you have to keep them clean?
Bob can answer.
You have to be
The-
diligent about keeping them clean.
The plumbing code at times requires that a grease interceptor be installed under the sinks in a food establishment. That would have no impact on whether we would call for a grease trap or not. Quite often, if there's a high grease user, the plumbing inspector requires it as well to protect the internal plumbing of the facility.
So that's sometimes in addition to a regular grease trap?
Almost always.
Oh, okay.
One comment I'd like to remind my colleagues on the board. You're not
No,
finished?
I wasn't, but are you
What?
saying something before I finish?
I didn't know you weren't finished.
That's what I'm telling you.
You're not finished, keep going, and I'll give you
Now
my
I'm gonna
speech.
forget. Oh, I know what it
Yeah,
was. Are there different
I know
size,
about that.
sizes of grease traps? Are there small grease traps for a smaller establishment or less grease producing?
What do we have to
establishment?
provide, 5 times the flow? But basically, is it a
space-
1,000-gallon minimum?
Yeah, it's hard
There is.
on a regular restaurant where you have seats, it would be based on 15 gallons per seat, and probably 200% of that, I think, for a grease trap. They do come in
So
different
where
sizes.
there
certainly.
I mean, I'm only figuring the flow from the deli, based on the square footage of 90 gallons per day, is the total flow coming out of that use. That includes, the bathroom for the employees and the hand washing sink and the regular pot sink and.
Grease
So the
trap,
whole flow is not huge.
Right, got it.
grease traps have a minimum capacity of 1,000 gallons and sufficient to provide 24 hours detention for the kitchen flow.
Could we, do we have the authority to request a smaller?
It would be a variance that would have to be filed with the state.
Well,
All
why
right.
bother?
Well, because, to protect the environment and to save
No, no, but
some money.
well, I'll
Okay,
come
go
back.
ahead.
I'd like to just
I have a question
remind
now.
my colleagues of the story of the Friends Market.
Yes,
Where they put in, they did have a grease trap, and within months, it wasn't even a year, because of the activity of the deli, sure, that was a much bigger butcher's shop, I assume, but nonetheless, that system got totally bunged up with grease.
Yeah.
It cost them thousands because they had to dig it all out and they tried to
Yeah.
fix it
No.
from within.
Yeah.
It just seems to me, having been in the deli, and I know the amount of cooking that goes on there, very sensitive to the issues that Sims brought up, it seems to me unconscionable that we should not put in a grease trap, particularly since now is the time to do it. It's so much easier to do when everything's dug up. And for us to put in a system now without a grease trap, thinking that the same activities are going to continue under the new ownership, I think would be a big mistake. Now, I realize there's a financial tag to all this, but I don't think that we can get sidetracked into the finances when there's a clear need for a grease trap. Now, I'm sorry, Mr. Smith, you didn't want to hear me say that, but I wanted to say it before I threw it back to you now.
Well, that's all right. I was just gonna suggest, because I don't do the cooking, what you're talking about is someone that's got seats cooking all day long, but I don't hardly cut anything, maybe during the summer I cut is my heaviest time, but there's, I'm not saying there isn't grease or any washing, there's always grease, there's, mayonnaise, washing dishes or something like that. So I was just gonna, if there's one to be put on, that would be fine. I mean, I'll just follow what you, people want.
I will strongly urge for a grease trap. Gussie?
in the best of all worlds, you could make a deal and say, I'll pay for the septic system, you pay for the grease trap. Because if this person comes in and tears down a wall, he's not changing the use, but he's increasing his floor space for a store.
Yeah.
And so it's gonna come under review.
The
Right?
retail store has less of a flow than an office, so that the flow would,
Square foot
may,
for square
may go
foot.
down. 50 gallons per 1,000 square feet for a retail store, 75 gallons per 1,000
So
square
if
feet.
this wall comes down, the office is no longer rated at 75 feet, it's gonna go increase, so it's,
It's gonna
Decrease.
decrease.
Office has a greater flow than
Mm.
retail.
Isn't that amazing?
that's
I-
amazing.
And outside of this meeting, I'll talk to Stephanie about the calculations of
Yeah. Well,
just using
yeah, I-
retail for the deli.
I hear what you're saying, but if you add grease, it's not gonna go into Aries Pond, it's just gonna make this system die sooner.
Mm.
And I, you know, I don't, what, I understand your argument about putting a grease trap in. I hate for the owner who's gonna be leaving the premises to have to go to that expense. But I can be persuaded one
Say
way.
the finances is not our concern, it just can't be. But I think that a deli that prepares hot stuff, that cuts stuff,
We'll make a motion.
well, it's a request for determination, and I would move that it is in the best interest of all concerned, that the deli, when they're renovating their subsurface absorption system, add a grease trap.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion?
Finding would be, I think he's creating value. Our obligation is protect public health and the environment. And I think the applicant would be creating value and prolonging the
Life of the system.
expected life of the system.
Yep, right.
And hopefully his buyer will appreciate that. I think it's the right thing to do, and, you know, dropping another concrete box in the ground, it's, yes, it's an expense, but I appreciate the applicant's willingness to play along.
Any other comments, discussion? All, yes, Stephanie?
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
All in favor? I'm going to vote on it. Do you want to vote before we vote?
I just wanted one comment after
Yes.
you vote.
Okay. Those in favor of the motion, which is to say yes, put in a grease trap, say aye.
Aye.
No. Abstention.
Okay.
5-0-0.
If I can just have a few more minutes, given your decision, there is, my plan was abandoning the existing septic tank because it's less than 10 feet from the foundation and putting in a new septic tank for the new system. Now that we have to include a grease trap, could you tell me if you would object to our converting that existing tank to a grease trap and granting a variance for it to remain
Where it is.
5 feet or so from the foundation?
I wouldn't have a
That's
problem with it.
reasonable.
Does that
Very
sound
That's
like?
very reasonable.
Okay, then we
See,
will
we'll
be
give you-
back,
We'll give you something.
maybe on the 20th, maybe not till January,
Yeah.
with a final
Yeah.
design.
No,
Let
that's
me ask you a
very
question then.
variances.
If you were not using it as a grease trap, you would have dug it out.
Right, yes.
So in fact, it's costing you nothing. My motion is costing Mr. Smith.
No.
You know, there's some covers and some, you know.
Piping
it's-
and all sorts
I
of
just
things.
have another question. There's a unit 2 here. I'm assuming this is all condominiumized.
Yes.
And the fact that the septic tank for unit 2 is on the common area and on this area, as is the leach pit, is that any issue or we should be dealing with? Or that's just sort of a deeded thing?
I've not seen the complete plans yet. We'll
Okay.
have to see how many condo units there are, whether they need to be inspected, the reserve area, et cetera.
There's a hand.
Ms. Smith,
There's, my building is what we call condo 1, and Mr. Carlson's building is condo 2. They have their own system.
Okay.
But it's only 2 units, 2 condominiums?
Correct.
But the septic tank is on, in
My-
Leachfield, or is
It's on
partially
my
on your
side.
land, yeah, which makes a difference to us.
Yeah, it's on my land, and
Mhm.
as you might say, I own 67% of the condo, so I control the condo, so
Okay,
it's
just,
my land.
Okay.
But thank you very much for coming, and it was a good discussion, and I hope we're all on the same
Thank
page.
you very much.
Oh, thank you. Good luck to you in your retirement.
Well, I'll try it.
We will continue. Thanks again, Stephanie, if this is the end of your appearance.
Okay.
We still have nobody here from Clayton, but the Clayton?
No.
Nobody, okay. What's going to happen to that one, Bob? Is it going to come back to us, or
Probably will come back to the board.
we'll hang on to that then?
Oh, so we'll
We'll
keep
continue
that.
then with the health agent's report.
We do have Dave LaJoy here for item number 9, if you want.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Wait, is that my?
Okay, that's not, with item, who said, you have an item?
Dave LaJoy.
Oh, I'm s-
110
okay.
Beach Road?
All right, I got it.
Oh,
Yes. 110 Beach Road, David. Yes, okay, I'm with you.
This is a project where we come to the board where we had originally designed for the piping from the septic tank to the leach area to be within an easement of a piece of property, which violated your requirement to have all septic system components being on the property served. So what I did is just sent in a preliminary plan where we could theoretically meet those requirements. Did everybody get that?
I think we did, yeah.
what have I done with it? I had it.
The big map?
Mr. Chairman? Maybe a drone for just a second. This is a plan that was in front of the planning board, which I also sit on. I voted the affirmative for it. Not being a vote today, this being a discussion, I don't see the need to recuse myself, but I would like the record to reflect that I have viewed this from a planning board perspective as well.
Any objection from Mr. LaJoy?
I've
Thank you
lost
for
it.
letting us know of that. It's no
Yeah.
surprise that we know you're on the
Okay.
planning.
Member
Well,
before the.
it's just,
Yeah.
town council
Right.
says that every time.
What?
Thank you.
Oh, here it is.
David, back to you and
It's okay.
the meandering pipe.
Okay, so what we did was show the way where we could comply with the Board of Health requirement, having all the components on the property served. And that, this particular sketch required us to move closer to an isolated wetland to where we would be installing the piping. So we can comply with that Board of Health requirement, but we're needing to get a new approval from the Planning Board and also new approval from the Conservation Commission, who were very adamant about us keeping as much activity away from the wetland areas as possible. So I'm wondering if, by showing you that we physically could have met your requirement, could we revert back to allowing for the piping to go from the tank to the leach area as we have on the approved planning board plan and the approved conservation commission plan?
Geographically, just make sure we're on the same. It goes from lot 2 across the corner of lot 1, is that what you're saying?
Did,
And that's what you want to make, you want to go back again along that corner.
correct. We had the
Okay.
piping going through here with an easement.
And that's what you're requesting, that we allow that again. Make sure that every member of the board has seen that, because I think that it's a little
Okay,
confusing.
okay.
Oh,
All
we're
right.
talking about, here's when we
Yeah.
had originally proposed it, we had a 25-foot setback from the wetland. And that's where we were proposing putting the pipe and a corresponding work limit that the Conservation Commission was.
Unhappy.
No, they granted approval for that.
Oh,
We had originally back closer back there, but they asked us to maintain
Mhm.
as much of a buffer zone from the isolated wetland as possible. That's also kind of why we ultimately put the driveway where we had it. We originally had it in that panhandle, but the planning board.
It used to be on this side.
But now they're coming out the front. Didn't they have it out the back
No,
before?
the point was, the land went over like this and it cut across.
A little confusing.
So
Uh,
everything's
well-
further from the wetland.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
If I may ask a question? On the plan that shows the pipe running through the easement, how close is that to, I presume that this is a pit,
Existing leaching pit.
existing leaching pit? Do you have any clearance issues on that?
No.
It looks pretty close, I don't,
Yeah, basically, the pipe is gonna be installed above the leaching pit. The leaching pit's about 4 or 6 feet to ground, and so the piping's gonna be above that.
and am I correct in recalling testimony in front of the planning board that this area that's labeled wetland vegetation
Yes.
on the parcel, that is in fact the site of excavations from some time ago that has that has converted itself to a perched wetland due to soil conditions?
Yes, and we went through a discussion with the Conservation Commission explaining that to them, but they gave us the response back that however it got there, it is one now, an isolated wetland now. So we went through the process of getting approval to have the construction being outside that for installing that pipe to try to protect that wetland area. If we go with this proposal, we would be infringing more on that and needing to get their approval for it.
Well, let me ask Mr. Canning if he has any comments, and I'll come back to the members of the board.
There is no setback distance from the requirement of a pipe to a property line, as long as it's on the property it serves. So as long as it can be constructed without disturbing the abutting property, I don't have a problem with the location of that pipe. It would comply with the requirements. My only comment would be the septic tank has to be slightly adjusted to be 50 feet from that wetland. I don't believe that that would be a problem in adjusting that. That would avoid a variant situation. Otherwise, the soil conditions look good. I've not reviewed the plan for a permit. There may be some notes or details that may have to be added, but it appears to meet the general requirements of the code.
And I'll come back to the board members. Sims, do you have any other thoughts or comments?
But you're still within the, no matter where you put it, whether you're within the easement or remain on Lot 2 itself, you're still within the 100-foot buffer zone for the, for the isolated vegetated wetland that's on the abutting parcel.
Yes, and we obtained permission from the Conservation Commission to do that, to install that.
So the issue at hand is how much do you distance from the wetland vegetation on Lot 2 do you gain by using the easement tactic?
15 to 20 feet
So
for the installation of the pipe.
So you'd be 25 or 30 feet instead of 10 feet.
Correct.
Is that what I'm seeing?
What I have here, this line here is a 25-foot work limit setback from this wetland area here. So we're going to be installing the pipe about 27, 28 feet away from the wetland, as opposed to that one, which would be 8 or 9 feet away.
And if I'm reading the contours correctly, the wetland vegetation is up gradient from the work, no matter which location it's in, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Susan, any other questions?
No, at this moment, no.
I have a question. There's a plan before us dated November 16th, and it's this one where the pipe is all
On the lot
on
two.
Lot 2.
Yeah.
Yes,
The one we objected to
yes.
is that one.
Yep.
Has this plan gone to CONSCOM?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
So you're asking us to approve this plan?
No.
No.
I know, that's why I wanted to hear you say it again, because I
I'm
don't
sorry.
quite believe it. You're asking us to go back to that plan?
Yes.
David, this bothers me, because I made the motion last time you were here, and I didn't do it just to make you go back to the drawing board. Back in February, when this board was asked to comment as on the definitive subdivision plan. The very reason we said no variance will be granted, because we foresaw a time like this when somebody was going to try to wedge in another lot between wetlands and was gonna be a problem. And the very reason this board said no variances from the plans that come forward is because we were trying to send the message that there should not be another house back there and all these things. And I hate
If I could
the
interrupt you.
Board of Health getting a reputation of just being bad guys to send you back to the
Understand.
drawing board.
I understand.
And number two, being misrepresented at other boards, well, they just, they don't care if it's closer to your wetland, they're not into wetlands. I mean, in November, we did this for a reason.
What I'd like to suggest about that is, there are many ways for us to still divide this lot that would not prohibit a dwelling going back there. The environmental reasons aren't prohibiting us from having a dwelling back there. We've gotten Conservation Commission approval, we've got the Planning Board approval, we requested from the Planning Board and obtained approval to get a waiver from not utilizing the panhandle that was created, which is generally created for access. We were asked by the Planning Board to have a common driveway, even though we needed to show a panhandle. We asked the Conservation Commission, we went through quite extensively. They even asked us to consider moving the existing dwelling to a different place to maximize the distance from their concerns, which is the wetland areas. We were able to show them that we could construct the house back there and meet their requirements by what we showed. And we were able to meet all the environmental issues from the Board of Health standpoint, other than the location of the piping. So environmentally, I think we can still get approvals if necessary to have a dwelling back there in many different ways. We're trying to eliminate having to go back through a new plan to the Planning Board, a new plan to the Conservation Commission, which is not gonna do significantly anything to environmental concerns. We're still gonna be allowed to have a dwelling back there. So we're not kind of pinching in a house where there are environmental issues that we can't comply with. It's more just what was the most practical way of getting the septic system, the dwelling, the access issues all approved.
You had lousy stuff to work with. You had to make
Well-
one committee unhappy.
Well, yes, but
And it's us.
well,
Oh, it's me, okay, it was,
I still,
okay. I hear you.
I guess when the planning board reviewed this, they took the health department's comments very seriously and made them part of the planning board's conditions. And, you know, this is something we're gonna see more and more of, subdivisions, you know, more marginal parcels as we approach build-out. I guess my question, David, is this northeast corner of parcel 1, which is where the question seems to be. It seems that it was shaped that way to protect the existing septic system for the existing dwelling. The only thing that I think would sway me is that if you could demonstrate that you could accomplish this subdivision by rearranging that corner of Lot 1 so that Lot 2 had the land area there to do it. I understand that it would mean reconstructing the septic system on Lot 1, but I mean, do you understand what I mean?
you're asking us to go back.
What I'm telling you
and make
is
this
that
lot line go like that.
if this lot line
Yep.
cut that corner off,
Yes.
and you obviously would have to do a compensating land swap over there. I don't know. This was it seems to me that this was an area that may have been discussed specifically in the planning board meeting. If not, it should have been, but it seems to me that this should have been anticipated when the subdivision was done. And maybe you can do it with an A&R. but it just, I mean, if you swap that corner for that corner, you own it, and then it's not a question anymore.
Right. What that did was, that was gonna require the owner to put in a new septic system for his existing house.
I
That we-
understand that, but the bills he's paying for your time and for representation at the various committees would go a long way towards a new septic system.
If that's your decision, that's fine. That was, as you say, that was all the discussions of him. We went and had the septic system inspected, I think for me and the planning board's request to have the septic system inspected, that passed. Again, there were many different ways of subdividing it.
I know when you start a blank slate, and it's Monday morning quarterbacking, I understand
okay.
this, and I, in one regard, I feel that it's not fair to you, in the other regard, I mean, the point of saying this at the preliminary stage was to make sure you guys had your ducks in a row when you finalized it and came in for the definitive. And it just, you know, it just seems to me it could have been laid out better. And I'm sorry if it's putting a new septic system in the ground, but the rules and regulations guide all regulatory boards, and I mean, they're not there so that you guys can burn up paper on waiver letters.
Refresh my memory, what's wrong with this plan which we've approved?
The plan that we submitted required a variance from your local bylaw of having all the septic system components on the lot that it serves.
That's if it cuts across,
Correct.
but this one doesn't cut across, the one?
No, this one,
He's demonstrating that he can do it without cutting it across, but it requires a
He's gotta go back
greater
to Conscom.
conservation waiver.
Right,
Yeah.
He's trying to get us to agree to,
I'm
the
trying to find out
easement
what's
scheme.
wrong with this. What's wrong
Nothing
with
from the
this?
Board of Health view,
That's all I needed to hear, I'm sorry. Okay, nothing, there's nothing wrong with it that I can.
From the Board of
Robin, I'm
Health.
sorry, I jumped ahead of you.
No, it's all right.
I concur with everything that Sue said.
I just couldn't understand why you wanted to do that other than expediency, and we've already been over this. Where do we go from here? We're not terribly favorable for this cutting across, as you
No,
can,
I
I'm sure you can
understand.
sense.
I understand.
I have a motion to make.
well,
Yeah,
it's a discussion, so I'm not sure that we're required to
Make a motion.
Do we need a motion, Bob?
make a motion, but I think
We
I
just
could-
say,
I
you
could
just
li-
keep
I could
saying you
live-
gave it
I
back.
could live with this plan.
I can live with this plan.
Okay, but the Conservation Commission, the concern is that the Conservation Commission may not be able to live with it.
Then we're in a different place then, but we're not the conscom.
Unlike some of us, I don't sleep with the Conservation Commission, I don't care.
It's on the television.
It's on television.
Mrs. Christie is married to Mr. Christie, and we all know, and we're all good friends.
and we're grateful to both of them.
They're good
The
citizens.
town is indebted to their service.
However, in reality, if, you know, I think that our concern is our concern, and we approve this as it stands, and I think we have to live with it.
Subject to approval by the Conservation Commission.
I think we put a hold on this, and it's probably gonna come back again.
I'm sorry that it's not the news that
Applicant.
that David's employer wants to hear, but the condition imposed was the condition imposed from my perspective.
Okay, thank you very much.
David, I'm sorry it's not Christmas for you yet.
All right.
That being said, the plan will have to be slightly modified to move the septic tank. Does the Board of Health want to see that again? If it needs no variances?
If it needs no
If
variance,
it needs no variances, it can be handled in-house.
no, I don't want to see that.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, sorry,
I think
David.
I should hold on to this.
And I am too.
Along with the easement on it.
Good afternoon.
Thanks again, David, and I'm sorry that we weren't more charitable today. But charity is not what we're paid to do.
On the road. Regents Lane, what is, oh, this is,
That's gone.
no, that isn't gone. That's 33 Monument, isn't it? Oh, it's Tansit.
The only thing we
Dancer.
haven't touched on is Clayton Circle, is that we
We're gonna postpone
Oh,
that.
we put a hold on it.
We're gonna hold on to that. Let's go back to the health agent. Is that where we are?
That's where we were.
That's where we are. Well,
What was before the Board of Health was, or the board did vote for the annual licenses, I'm sorry. The last two items I have are requests for waivers for difficulty of locating components on septic system inspection reports. The first one is 51 Dale Ann Drive. Sorry? 31 Dale Ann Drive. The inspection was performed by David Quinn. The system comprises of a septic tank, distribution box, and leaching facility. The as-built was used to locate the septic tank, and the property was dig-safe. The gas and electric line runs over the inlet cover, and a head runs over the center cover. The outlet cover was uncovered, inspected, and raised as required. He is requesting that the Board of Health waive the requirement to inspect the inlet end of the septic tank, and looking for the board to waive that.
Any problem with it?
I don't have a problem with it.
So moved. The second?
Second.
Any other discussion? We're in safe vote. Aye.
Aye.
5-0-0.
Second one is for 32 John Kenrick Road. This inspection was done by Richard Judd. The issue is regarding the septic tank outlet cover and the distribution box. The utility lines run over the outlet portion of the septic tank. The top of the tank was located 90 inches below grade. Using a backhoe, the yard was excavated until fill was located. At 98 inches below grade, the 4-inch PVC line that leads to the leaching pit was located. The line was traced to the leaching pit. It appears that the distribution box is located beyond the end exit wall of the septic tank. Water testing from the dwelling showed unrestricted flow to the septic tank and out to the located inspected leaching pit. What would be required to locate and expose? The underground utilities would require being temporarily disconnected so the inspection could be safely opened to a depth of 7 feet for the tank and 8 feet for the distribution box. A riser then could be installed, and the underground utilities would then be required to be rerouted off of the components. The inspector feels that the system was inspected adequately. Water testing showed unrestricted flow, and he is requesting a waiver to inspect the outlet of the septic tank and the distribution box.
Do you have any problem with that?
How old is this system?
Who did this?
Great
Who
minds.
did
It's in China.
It's in China. Thought only Dick Philbrick's old septic system.
Just trying to get
He
the
had to
age.
bring in a backhoe.
How did they pump the sucker?
They pump it from the inlet end of the septic tank. It was
Hmm.
pumped by Paul Daniels.
In that case, it needs inspection, right?
Carefully.
Like when the building cover-up will become the pump again.
I am just looking for that installation date. 11/16/86.
And how far
So
is
it's
it
20
is it
years
down?
old.
It's the
21
inlet cover
years
you
old.
can get to?
He can get to the inlet cover, cannot get to the outlet cover.
And how far down is the inlet cover?
96 inch, 98
The
inch.
inlet cover, this up.
I guess the reason I asked the question is it such an obstacle to get to it that pumping is not gonna happen?
The inlet
How
cover
many
is 9 inches from top of grade.
How much?
9 inches. That would be a riser over the cover. The tank is down 90 inches to the top of the tank, 90 inches to the outlet cover.
You're around when the system dies. If you have no problem, I have no problem. It's gonna
Move-
die one of these days.
Move approval of the waiver request.
Yeah,
Is there a second?
second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5-0-0.
It'll take 15 years to get sewage on top of the ground.
Yes, that's
right.
true, too.
Let's keep moving.
I have to imagine that it's uphill from the house, so it's gonna be in the.
Okay, that is the end of my health agent's report.
Do we have any other business, Mr. Health Agent?
We
sir?
have a lot more business.
I thought we might.
Agenda item 13. 13-1 is a letter from Dorothy Palin regarding the Nickerson curb cut, clearing of acres of land, potentially clearing of additional acreage, and she is concerned about the protection of the Orleans watershed. And the board has a letter to review.
Did the board all receive an email with Margie's response to the letter
I didn't, but
Did not.
I didn't, but the gossip mongers got it to me.
I got it, I wasn't sure if you all received it, I did get it.
Can you read it to us?
Oh, no, you don't want that.
No, I don't want to read
No,
it,
you
but
don't wanna read
basically, I think what Mrs. Fulcher said, and I was hoping she might be here, is that there's no conflict of interest, although apparently her maiden name was Nickerson, which I did not know. She's not related to the Mark Nickerson of this issue, and she's had no dealings with him, and really feels therefore that her objectivity in any discussion as a member of our Board of Selectmen is unimpaired. I think this little dialogue is a very little concern, I think, to this board. I don't quite know why we're here.
Well, I think the issue that she is asking for is, will this horse farm have a detrimental effect on the Orleans watershed?
That
It's my understanding that the
could.
Board of Water Commissioners voted 2-1 to recommend the Board of Selectmen send this to the Cape Cod Commission.
Oh, and I understand from our Cape Cod Commissioner representative that if our selectmen do not send it, the Board of Water Commissioners have the power to send it. And I would just like to remind this board that some research has been done from at least one source that indicates a single horse produces 100 pounds of nitrogen a year. That's the equivalent of 16 human beings. And there are going to be 20-plus horses on this parcel, and the applicant is reassuring them, but I'm going to have lovely green pastures out there.
I think
Which
so.
is going to require, which is going to require nitrogen to make them, so I
Well-
think we've gone from a single person living in this parsonage to the equivalent of about
Yeah, I mean,
500 people.
Well, but, I mean, it's all the nitrogen that's already going to be deposited there
Oh,
will
I
make
know
it
it.
lovely and green.
If we're really interested in the environment and our drinking water in Pleasant Bay, we should all be concerned about this.
And isn't it sad that it's all in Brewster?
No, it is not said, well, yes, it is said, because they don't care.
Again, you're on the record and all that, but nonetheless,
Right. Said it
the,
before.
as I say, the discussion directly between Mrs. Fulcher and Ms. Palin is a side issue. The real issue is this horse farm. And do we need to do anything? I mean, if it's going to the Cape Cod Commission, clearly it's the kind of thing where it's overlaps 2 townships that I think they could help us with.
Yeah, I mean, the Board of Health can evaluate this to see if they want to send it to the Cape Cod Commission. It's, you know, Ms. Palin is asking that all efforts be made. I think that if the board is going to evaluate that, we'd have to get more information and discuss it.
Yeah, we don't have much.
Well, I think it'd be very appropriate for us to say the implications to our drinking water and also our commonly shared groundwater and receiving water bodies is not fully known. And we would like it explored by the Cape Cod Commission so we can be reassured that these resources will not be impaired. We don't have to do the research.
Beyond that, do we really know what the plans are there? I mean, we talk about 20 horses. Do we know it's 20 horses?
Yes, that's what the owner came in and said yesterday to the water commissioners.
I did not know that.
Perhaps more, you might board them.
Well, that'd be nice. Okay.
Well, there also seems to be conflicting statements on how much land area is really involved here. At first, it was represented to be 50 or 60 acres, and then, well, you hear various.
I thought it was
sm-
20 or
sm-
30.
Smaller
He owns
parcels, and then
different
there's,
parcels.
well, we have access, or we're negotiating for additional land area, and it's all very gray and amorphous and concerning, and it's all in the zone of contribution to our drinking water.
Mm, mm.
And I'm told that clearing has already started. I mean,
It's
that's-
done.
I'd call it completed.
And it's been reseeded.
Yeah. One of the flies in the ointment is the fact that he is in Brewster, as far as I can determine.
Oh, yeah?
And Brewster has granted him the permits. Now,
Wow.
does that
Wow.
create a legal dilemma?
Yes and no. He has to cross Orleans property to get to his land.
Trouble is that the water gets to Orleans without getting permission from anybody.
Well, and by virtue of the fact that it's the Orleans zone of contribution, I think there's an intermunicipal
We have
interest there.
standing.
And I think this is, you know, this is why regional agencies exist, is to address regional issues, and even if it's, you know, neighboring municipalities who've agreed to disagree on a topic, that this is a fight that we need a referee in.
And so consequently, it would make sense to back the water commissioners and say, yes, we feel that indeed it should go to the Cape Cod Commission.
I don't have the information to vote in that direction right now, but I certainly have very strong concerns in that direction.
I think we need facts.
Well, that was my question. We have not received anything, really.
And I'm not sure we're going to unless we go out and get it. And so I would think that if we were gonna take any action today, it would be to ask the health agent to assemble some salient facts so we can.
But did the water commissioners already get a package?
We acted yesterday.
They did.
Is it possible to get a copy of the information that the Board of Water Commissioners had?
Maybe that'd be a good place for our next meeting.
Okay, my understanding is that this may be on the agenda at the commission in January. What is wrong with the Board of Health asking for all information pertinent to resources in the Orleans area that may be impinged upon by this action, period? It's not asking for you to go out and dig up a lot of information that is in flux right now.
Well, I wondered if the
It says-
package that's already existent would save Bob a lot of time.
I think
Would
that's
that-
he's saying on an ongoing basis that we would be.
We get copied on everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
exactly.
All right. No, I fully agree with that.
Hey, you remember the Brewster Sand Gravel?
Don't I? Yes, we visited. That was a nice place.
And you have to be proactive to be part of the loop on that.
And again, for those who don't know what we're talking about, remember there was an issue of another.
But was there a total resolution on that Brewster Sand and
Yes,
Gravel? There was?
we got help from the state.
Okay, good.
And they came and they dug holes and they found all kinds of buried stuff, old cars and stumps and
Right.
gas tanks and all kinds of good things.
Pictures
All
are
in our
beautiful.
watershed. Okay, let's do that. So, Bob, is that enough? Do we need to vote or anything? We just want some more information.
I can get the board the information that went to the Board of Water
Okay.
Commissioners.
And we'll do nothing about the
And,
letter.
and I think I'd ask if the Board of Water Commissioners would be so kind as to copy us on whatever materials they receive in the future pertinent to this
Yeah,
subject.
But beyond that, what is wrong with us asking an agency? I mean, you use the term that we need a referee. I don't think we need a referee more than we need to ask a regional agency to provide us with some information that's not coming from one prejudicial source or another prejudicial source.
Of whom do we ask this?
Cape Cod Commission.
Ask them to give us the information.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
we don't have the resources, we don't have the staff time for Bob to go out and find out how many
Be
pounds of
detective.
nitrogen a horse really makes, and get 3 references and make sure that one is the most accurate. And, you know, I mean, there's just so many questions that I think we turn to the people that are going to be enablers in us making reasonable decisions. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I think what we're really asking, Gus, is that Bob cast his line into the water a few times and see what comes up. I, for one, am not prepared to jump on the referral bandwagon, because when I vote, I feel an obligation to make a responsible vote.
And we don't have
And
adequate
an informed
information.
vote, and I don't have
I
any
don't think that's
information
making a referral, you're requesting information.
And if Bob calls the commission as part of his casting for information,
Okay.
ship me what you can, that's fine with me.
Okay.
That's one of his resources as a professional on Cape Cod. But it's, so I guess the request is not just the water commissioner's information, but whatever reasonable sources of information you think you could garner pertinent information from, and don't make it a doctoral thesis yet.
I just know how busy that office is.
I know, and I think what I would really ask to do is ask Bob to spend half an hour thinking about it and half an hour or 45 minutes on the telephone, and hopefully the stuff magically appears.
Like you say, the water commissioners have already requested the Cape Cod Commission to
To
take
the
this up.
selectmen.
It's got to the second selectman first. Okay,
They asked the selectmen to refer it,
okay.
and they were told that if the selectmen do not, they
They
have
can
the
do it
power to
themselves.
do it.
Okay. Well, it's bubbling around in several different agencies in this building already.
It's our responsibility to be informed on the topic.
I think we should be informed. Okay, let's move on.
Okay. Item number 13.2 is just for the board's information. The annual report is due in January. And the annual town meetings, any articles being proposed must be submitted before February 15th of '08. Item number 13.3, I went online, I got a copy of the Daniels E&F notification form from the state, from MIPA, saying the project does not require the preparation of an environmental impact report. This is something we never received in the mail, so I went online, I got it, and we got to share it with the board.
The time?
Probably, I mean, if we're talking about this.
Yeah, okay, I'm out of here, I'm accusing myself. My husband
Goodbye,
owns
go home.
property. I can't.
Why can't
I
you go
wish.
home?
There's more stuff to come.
What are we doing afterwards?
We have
Something to do
the
with the
nutrient-sensitive areas.
You know, Mr. Chairman, I would suggest in the future that these agendas be arranged so that persons that have to recuse themselves don't have to go to sit upstairs and twiddle their thumbs to come back for other business. I think it would be fair to our colleague.
It's okay.
No, really, I do.
Robin knows to bring a plate.
Yeah, keep going, because we have a lot of stuff relating to the Dyer Hill Road activities.
Item number 13.4 is a draft letter to the Cape Cod Commission.
Okay,
The
yes, that's
board
Greg
asked
Smith
me
right here.
to speak to the commission to find out what options the Board of Health has. We do have a
Response?
response. Actually, John Kelly had asked the same question. We do have a written response from the Cape Cod Commission. I'll just pass those around on options that are available to the town.
Mr. Chairman,
Sorry.
I know it doesn't make for riveting TV, but might we have a moment or two to take a quick peek?
I think that would be, we will read this letter that's dated yesterday.
This is what public access TV is all about. Watching us read.
Just sort of passing the buck.
Our apologies, this letter was all by you guys, but we just saw it. Doesn't really say anything other than the processes.
Yes, I don't, do
you want a
do you
copy
want
of
a
this?
copy of this?
No, great.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thoughtless of me.
no.
It's the processes by which the Cape Cod Commission can proceed.
I don't think it's any news to you guys, it's just clarification to us.
Now, this letter, our letter dated November 20th is gone. I mean, we've approved that and it's gone. Our letter.
Yes, it's already been delivered. No,
And this was the response.
That's, okay, I just want to make sure of that.
Okay, it's the next
Well-
agenda item. You don't have the response yet to that.
No, this is, the December 5 letter is in response to our December 3 letter.
3
Is it
letter.
not? Our
We did
December-
not, the December 3 letter is a draft, it just didn't copy the watermark on December 3. That is a letter, the Board of Health, on a letter that is now dated December 3rd, the Board of Health asked me to find out what options we have to have it, the Cape Cod Commission assist in the review of the
yeah, this is
facility.
what we had
Yeah.
asked Bob to do.
So,
So-
the December 3rd letter has not been sent, but this
That's
is
correct.
basically the response.
Oh, it has
to the
not been
way-
sent?
To
Okay,
the
so
way we
it's the
get
way
asked
to
for
do
it.
So the
Yeah.
December 5 letter from the commission is response to the questions we raised when discussing
Yes.
the December 3 letter.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
correct. The
Yeah.
response was to John Kelly in his questions, but they were the same questions.
That we had.
I don't have a copy of the December 3 letter.
That's the Greg Smith
It's
letter?
this one.
The
Here,
Greg
Mr.
Smith.
You should have it.
You've got it.
In my hand.
It's labeled item 13-4.
Okay, Mr. Smith, thank you. All right.
No problemo.
When I spoke to Dor Fox and Greg Smith about the options, and I'll try to summarize it as I understood it, realizing that it's probably more in detail in the letter. There are really 4 ways which the Board of Health could go. A minor modification. A minor modification would go to the, I gotta look at regulatory committee. Regulatory committee would look at it and determine if they could give a minor modification approval to an exemption. That is usually, if it is approved, it is approved without any conditions or any further conditions on the project. A major modification also goes to the regulatory committee. Major modification, they would take into account any comments that the Board of Health has, and they would take into any other concerns that the regulatory committee has, and then they would review the project based on those concerns. Board could go with the discretionary DRI. Discretionary DRI would allow the Board of Health to say, we would want you to take this project, and we would want you to look at the project in the areas that we are concerned of. And the last is technical assistance. If the Cape Cod Commission, if we don't ask for anything and the Cape Cod Commission passes it as a minor modification, we could ask for technical assistance, and a staff person would help answer questions for us. However, that would not be subject to public hearings, would not be subject to any conditions of the Cape Cod Commission, but they could offer us some technical assistance. So those are really the options that the Board of Health would have.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Mr. Sims.
In your description, Bob, I'm not sure you included in this letter, the description of review as a major modification. This
Where
letter
are you?
states that that process requires a public hearing,
That's correct.
whereas the minor modification process is a public meeting.
Correct.
Committee.
And there's my clarification. The question I would have is, and I've asked this a couple of times and I don't seem to be getting a straight answer. If we ask the commission for technical assistance, your phraseology is that they will answer questions.
We have to present the
My-
question.
My direct question is, will they go out and do research and analysis and report back to us? This is what I need. I need someone with more technical background than I have to look at a report, analyze it for its accuracy, its impacts, and then return that information to me in plain English.
I'll have to ask that
I mean,
question. out
and
specifically.
please, I'm not sure it's being asked in that direct a fashion. I mean, it's, in essence, is if I were considering an application that has some deep technical information, whether it's, public infrastructure or mechanical information, I don't know the background to analyze it. I don't know whether this is going to do or not. Can we hand such reports to them and get them to analyze a traffic study or mechanical engineering drawings, specifications, and get some assessment as to whether or not it addresses the issues satisfactorily?
I mean, really, we've been dancing around that point for a couple of meetings now. The reality is that there's so many issues here that this board, that's elected presumably to look after the health of the population of Orleans and the environment we live in, we simply do not have the expertise to deal with the questions which the rather massive expansion of activities at the Daniels facility are going to demand. We just don't have those skills. Gussie?
Yeah, the applicants have been sitting here as long as we have, and then some. I would ask them, Mr. Chair, if they have any presentation they'd like to make to us before we continue, because I've been thinking long and hard about what we do and how we do it, and I certainly would like to hear from them.
I'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. For the record, Steve Daniels, Paul Daniels, Attorney Michael Lass.
You want to come to the microphone? I think that you're not heard if you're sitting back there, and there's a world outside.
Bring up another chair and...
Absolutely. For the record,
I'm sorry, and your
Michael Lass, Attorney Michael Lass, Engineer Greg Wilson.
Would you spell your names, because I wouldn't remember them. Yours I know, Steve, but... So,
Last, L-A-S-T. It's too easy, people don't believe
yeah,
it.
sure. And
It's Greg.
Greg Wirsen, W-I-R-S-E-N.
thank you.
Here with Green Seal.
Yes, ma'am.
We all met at the time of the site visit, if you remember. We were there.
Yes.
Several of us met then. Okay, Steve.
More than happy to answer any questions to help clarify. And Michael and Greg would like to do a small presentation.
I thought maybe it might be helpful just to do, and obviously it's not a formal permit process, but just to do a quick overview of some of the issues involved, because that may help both demystify but also make a little more specific some of the questions that could arise. If that's helpful, I think it'll take me 5 minutes, have Greg.
Yeah, please do. I
Greg
think
do that.
we need help. I mean, as I said, we don't know what to do.
Just to give a sense for sort of the issues in quick, while he's doing that in quick overview, many of the issues really are.
Set it up over there by the podium.
There's an easel.
Then that camera can get it. This wonderful techno age.
Spied on from 2 directions today.
Oh, yes, the whole world watching and stuff.
It's one of the worst things that's happened to this town.
I get a certain fee when I go on camera,
You do?
celebrity and all.
Oh, aren't you a member of the Screen Actors Guild?
Yeah,
We
just
had
on
to all
strike,
join
I
up.
just had to solve something.
I thought you were on strike. Oh, well.
No, I didn't come on strike, that's what.
I can't see it over there.
I know, it's
It is hard to see.
State hands are on
we have
strike
to-
too.
Yeah, right. No,
Um,
no, I think that,
I'm gonna make this easy for
yeah.
to- Well, Greg is doing that. Let me give just a quick overview of sort of what I guess are 2 subsets of issues, or 2 categories. One are issues that are, I'm going to let him do that, but.
No, here,
Thank you very much. Greg, here you go, sorry.
You can tell I give a lot of PowerPoints.
Oh, look at this. Now, this is nice.
It's the same as that one.
Yeah, I know, but it's closer.
just closer.
Closer, exactly. One set of issues is, I guess, what you might call really more strictly local issues, which are less regional impact. And as far as we can tell, and obviously that'll be ultimately your call on the Cape Cod Commissions, I think most of the issues are more local in terms of the operation of the facility and how it goes. And in fact, most of those are governed today, currently, by the site assignment that you already issued for the facility, which was, and I've had a little bit of experience in this area, I thought very detailed and extremely well done. So many of those issues are already covered. And I think, in fact, we'll cover pretty well the new facility as well, even though it is larger. The second category of issues, which is a little bit more, I think, directly Cape Cod Commission oriented, are what one might call regional impact. And that largely is, we think, traffic. And we did as part of the Environmental Policy Act submittal, and we actually did this very consciously. We did more than what normally is done with an environmental notification form because we felt it was really a good way to share with everybody who was involved, the town, the commission, and the state, as much information as we could about the facility. And so it did include a traffic study that had been done by Vaness and Associates. And what it concluded, just in a nutshell, was that in terms of traffic impact at the major intersections that would be impacted, none would be impacted more than 0.3 seconds of delay, additional delay, which is almost hard to conceive of. I've never been able to figure out 0.3 seconds myself. But one thing that was noted.
0.3 of a second.
0.3 of a second.
That's it.
That's right. Not even, right.
1/3 of a 1/10 of a second.
Exactly. I don't know if the mind of man can actually get that, but putting that to one side. The other issue that did come up had to do with turning radiuses off access roads. And that is of concern and is of significance, and it's something that Steve and Paul have been working with the town already on, having to do with, they own some land which can be used to help make a more effective intersection, a safer intersection as you turn in, and we could point that out. And that's been under conversation. I think that was one reason, at least as it's been related to me, why the selectmen felt that that issue could be also dealt with locally because of the ability to work together to solve that problem. So if that's true, then there's probably not a lot of what one might call purely regional impact in this project. Although the point that you did make, and I fully understand, is kind of whole issue of technical support to really kind of deal with all aspects of the project.
Like you, sir, I have no clue what 0.3 of a second delay means, and how do you, I've seen
Right.
one document that says 64 additional vehicle trips a day.
Right.
How does that translate into that sort of statistic?
If you're behind a truck, you won't be delayed by more than 0.3 of a second. Don't worry about it.
I just, it's mystifying to me, and I need some advice on how to interpret it.
Right, and I'm actually, I don't mean to diminish that at all, and by my comments, I'm putting, really what I wanted to mention was context only, because we do have to get to that point, and I think it's a very good one, so I didn't mean to try to address it just by throwing a statistic out, because I don't think that's a fair
Well,
way to address it.
I've seen it before, but I have no way to interpret it.
Right.
so.
And so, but that's where we started coming from, and I guess our hope is to really lay it out to the board is that because we think anyway most of this is of local concern, and our sense is the commission doesn't disagree with that fundamentally, that most of it will be dealt with locally as we're doing now. I think it has two benefits. One, it keeps control at the locality, assuming there's adequate support to make the decisions, informational support. And I think most of the decisions really are locally focused. That being said, we thought it would be helpful at least to provide just a very quick overview of what the elements of the project are, including this intersection issue which has come up as well. Just to put some flesh on the really general categorization I just made. Then answer any questions, and then also come back, if we can at that point, and circle back on this whole issue of kind of technical support and what makes sense so that we really can have a fully informed dialogue about it. Because the worst thing that happens is when there's not enough information and assumptions get made on either side that aren't accurate. That's really not a good situation. So that was sort of where we thought we might just approach it today. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would add on that before I give a brief rundown of the site is that during a site assignment modification, we present the criteria in a form that can be digested by the parties who are supposed to digest it. So if you do have questions on traffic, we would bring the traffic engineer, Ken Cram, to the meeting. If there's questions on dust control, if there's questions on sound, all these issues need to be spelled out in a manner that you can completely understand. And so if that means that we have to provide additional information or questions that the board may have, we'll do so. A rundown of the site, we have, I'm going to break these down into two issues on the site. We have internal improvements inside the building or building that we will add on, and we have external improvements. and then we have off-site quote mitigation. Those are the three things that likely we'll address during the site development. The black square on your plan right here is an approximate 9,000 square foot building for all intents and purposes.
That's the current building.
That is the current building. There's a canopy system here with a misting system that you have seen some of the letters of. It's supposed to be directly dumped into a pit that's located right here. Some material falls out. There's some doors on this end of the building that are used for ingress and egress of loaders and material. We intend to retrofit this building and add on an approximate another 9,000 square feet, basically making it L-shaped. What that does is it actually allows for these tipping doors that trucks can pull actually entirely inside the building, raise their bodies, dump inside. They don't have to be on a canopy. Spillage would be on top of a concrete floor, a tipping floor and not a pit. Very easy to move around with internal equipment that don't actually have to exit the building to pick up any spillage. Secondly is that this area right now, the processing line when the equipment is in the building is located here. And if you were to pull a large truck in here, there's really not enough room right here for a piece of equipment to what I call articulate, which is to pick up the material, articulate to the truck, load it into the truck, and get it out with all the doors being closed. And site logistically, it's tough to do. By having the processing equipment make a little turn right here, putting it on a 90-degree angle, you just have the screener going to the picking station at a 90 degrees. It really opens up this side of the building right here so that actually large trucks you can stockpile inside more effectively. You can keep the doors closed more effectively. Things that have been raised on letters that have happened, that have gone back and forth between Greens Hill Environmental and Daniels and the Board of Health over the past several weeks. We have been looking at these to say, where have we gone since this process started back in 1998? What have facilities done to improve logistically, internally? So the internal improvements will happen. Besides the building addition, there is a small area of pavement right here.
Where?
Right.
Oh, okay, right there, okay.
Right here, that we're just adding on for turning purposes. Right now, in this area, where it's not paved, there is some can storage in back, and the topography goes down. We're actually trying to reduce the amount of activity that happens on the rear side of this building. It happens right here, right now. More of it would happen right here. And there's a big relief to a lot of the other industrial properties here. And there sometimes is a straight shot to residential dwellings up here. So we're looking at those things with respect to noise, truck traffic, backup alarms. Lastly is because we do have additional roof, we are adding more infiltrators to take care of the roof runoff right there. It'll require an underground injection control permit as required by the state. That way we can separate our stormwater treatment from our regular roof runoff. The one last improvement on the site is that the scale needs to be extended slightly so that it can receive a larger truck. Those are.
The scale is moved too, though, isn't it?
It's not moved.
That's right,
It's going to maintain the same exact position that it is today. What it is that they have these metal panels and they can add some load cells and actually just extend the scale. So those are the on-site issues in a nutshell. This is going to take me hours to go through during a set assignment proceeding because I need to address nuisance control, nuisance conditions. What are nuisance conditions? We're going to address vectors, seagulls, rats. We're going to address dust. How do we control dust? Are we going to use air filtration? Are we going to use misting and fogging? What are we going to do for sound? How are we going to prove that we comply to sound? What are we going to do for on-site idling and emissions? What are we going to have for controls? What are the traffic patterns on the site so that we can safely stage vehicles on the site waiting to tip? What are their requirements? What are the training requirements of the Daniels personnel that inspect the loads? Can they identify suspect asbestos-containing materials? Can they pull out universal waste materials such as mercury switches and things like that that come in typical demolition materials when when you take down a home.
Well, what's important, I think, to note is that a lot of what will be addressed is not going to change from the existing operations. There will be more material, and the reason for that probably is worth noting just at the outset, because the demand on for recycling in the state, and rightly so, is increasing. It's coming from two sources, of course. One is constrained disposal capacity, but more importantly, it's DEP doesn't want these C&D type materials disposed of in landfills. They want them recycled. And so because of the land ban, it's become ever more important both to have facilities with capacity and also to have those facilities have more room and more capability of sorting materials for recycling. You have to really do both. So this is both mandate from the state, but also because of societal need. The other part that I think is important is that it's important to have good local facilities, because otherwise what tends to happen, and we've seen this on the Cape, I know a lot, is that stuff ends up in the back 40, particularly C&D stuff does, up in vacant lots and public spaces,
Or at
open
illegal
spaces.
facilities, which.
Roadsides. Or roadsides.
Or roadsides, yeah. So there is a need for capacity, and that's what the Daniels are responding to, but there's also a need for better indoor management of materials so that you can satisfy the recycling mandates that are required.
The current limits are 50 tons a day plus the C&D.
Yes, up to, not more
Up
than.
to, yeah.
Up to 50 of C&D.
Yeah, and the new ones are going to be proposed to be what?
250 combined.
250 combined.
Combined of C&D, yeah, and it's up to 40 tons per day of wood waste. currently.
It's 90 now combined, and it's 250 combined.
Exactly.
Almost triple.
Yeah, that's right.
So once we're looking at the facility improvements, and we'll go out, we're going micro now, we're heading a little macro. To get to this facility, we did have a traffic study performed. We looked at multiple intersections on their traffic patterns, which they're obligated to use today. And really, the issue with turning radiuses and why back in, I forget when the site assignment exactly happened, but it was in 2000, somewhere around there. 7 years, I can't believe it.
Neither can I.
Yeah.
I can't.
Lost all his hair.
One of the issues
I can relate
was
to that.
was certainly this intersection.
Yeah.
The Daniels do on the property. We've looked at turning radiuses using particular trucks and the technologies for trucks and trucking, what they've done today with fuel prices the way they are. They have designed trailers that can hold more material in shorter wheelbases. And the Daniels want to capitalize on that, and that would allow, if there is an increase in tonnage, A, traffic reduction, and B, if they worked out issues with respect to this intersection, the ingress to the facility and the egress from the facility will have proper turning radiuses and therefore will not impact vehicular safety, turning patterns, as well as pedestrian safety, which is what our traffic consultant looked at, Ken Cramp from Vanessa and Associates, which will be in attendance.
Mr. Orienti, which is the glass place on that?
It's right here.
That just the corner of?
Yep.
And the bigger part of the square is Daniels?
No.
No, what is that?
That's all Cape and Islands glass.
All Cape and Islands?
No, the rental.
That is our rental building. We own Cape and Islands Glass, the building and
Okay.
what is known as the rental retail yard.
So it's a
Yes.
split building, split occupancy in the building.
Yes.
Right.
Separate site, but yeah, from the actual recycling site.
And
That's
then
what's on the corner of Finley.
there's a large curb cut here where the glass people use. So
And so the rest of the Daniels, where the gravel is and the, that's all to the left?
It's all right.
That's, yes.
Right here.
Is that's a Daniels building there, you're almost pointing at, to the left?
On the
Yes.
left-hand side.
On the left
This
side.
That is too.
That's yours.
That's the shed, and one of the sheds on the site.
So, moving from there in local turning radiuses, then we're talking about regional impact, which is what this meeting is about today, is really what happens with the commission. And we've met with Greg Smith multiple times. I've worked with Greg since he was hired at the Cape Cod Commission as a solid waste manager. There was, is it Glenn Cannon's the traffic engineer there? And we provided them the traffic reports, and they've looked at this from a regional perspective, and basically it's their feeling, and I can't speak for them, that it's some type of exemption, whether it's a minor or major exemption, likely leaning towards the minor. And the reason being is, we have to remember that just because the material is going to Daniels, they don't create the waste. This waste is created in Barnstable County. And what it does is it drives right by Orleans and it heads down to the next available facility. And so when you have a capacity, I'm gonna talk two things about capacity. One is it's already on the streets. So it's already going down the highway. It's already on Route 28. It's already on Route 6. So really what we're talking about is the local issues of navigating to this facility. Secondly is really that with the waste ban, one thing is, I don't know if Michael really latched onto it. Asphalt, brick and concrete, wood and metal as of July 1, 2006 is illegal to be disposed of at a Massachusetts landfill. So our regionally participating landfill, the Bourne landfill, could no longer accept that and dispose of it. So all the trucks that go down there, now it gets loaded onto a bigger truck and it gets shipped off Cape for processing. I don't know if any of you guys are aware that that happens today. What else did we talk to? Oh, capacity. We looked at Daniels' capacity. They operate pretty close to their 49 tons per day capacity. We report to the Board of Health on a monthly basis. They average anywhere between 40 and 49 tons a day during their operational days that they're open. We then did some research of what does that really mean to a facility once they expanded their capacity. And we looked at every C&D processing facility in southeastern Massachusetts, as well as some large C&D transfer stations. And lo and behold, when you look at the annual capacity, they're averaging about 49% of what their approved capacity is. So when you folks approve a capacity of 250, there are very few times that this facility is actually going to reach that capacity. But when we study the traffic, when we study the size of the building, when we study the throughput, when we study staging areas, dust suppression, licensing, all those things, we're looking at the maximum capacity. But that's really not what, we have to understand that that's not what this facility is going to get day in and day out. If we look at the trends of every facility and we took it from their published reports that they report to the DEP every year, they're operating at about 50% of that.
And there's actually a good reason for that, probably intuitively obvious, which is that it's seasonal.
It is
Obviously, during construction season, you're going to have considerably more material generated, and then
Municipal
in
solid
winter,
waste,
you'll have
right.
considerably less.
Construction and
Yeah.
demolition debris is considered temporary waste. You might generate it today and you might have 5 tons of that, but you might not have 5 more tons for 10 more years because you're not going to do an addition or renovation. Whereas a regular transfer station that takes municipal solid waste, if you look at your Orleans transfer station, you'll have 25 tons a day of MSW like clockwork because it's on a per capita basis.
No, it isn't. I mean, you say seasonal. Remember, we are a resort community. Everything here. Traffic is seasonal.
Right.
Garbage is seasonal.
Absolutely.
Everything is seasonal.
Yep.
So what you're saying is not true for Orleans.
Yes, yeah.
That's true, but the waste is temporary waste, and what we did when we did study traffic was we didn't study it in January or February when we looked at
But
traffic.
that's,
I would have liked to, but certainly that would have been nixed when we were going through the permitting process. So
Not to mention the lawyer would have nixed him anyway, but,
Yeah, that lawyer guy.
yeah, right.
So that's a general overview of it. So when you guys are making a decision and you're asking for technical assistance from the Cape Cod Commission, I know what they have for manpower. I've worked with them. We work with them all the time. I've worked on resource recovery of Cape Cod down in Sandwich. I permitted the Dennis transfer station for construction demolition debris in Dennis. I've worked with the commission. I understand what they identify as regional impacts, and I do understand what they identify as local impacts. And really, your concerns and your conditions, if you look back at the site assignment, are conditions that are restrictive of regional impacts. They're what is the quality of life of in the industrial development and the potential receptors, which are the residential neighborhoods I believe it is to the north of the facility. And unfortunately, Mass General Law and the solid waste regulations have charged the Board of Health to do this, just as when you went through the landfill closure for the town of Orleans, you must have been charged with that when they did it. And I don't know if you brought on technical assistance to help you with that when you closed it, or even when you expanded your existing transfer station. It's kind of the same thing here. You're gonna go through that.
But I do think that coming to the bottom line, I do think we're happy to work with the Cape Cod Commission on technical assistance or any of those kinds of issues, and happy to provide as much detailed information as we can and translate some of the stuff that's more technically minded into whatever more layman's terms we can do.
Providing pre-submittal information so that.
Well, let me see if the members of the board have specific questions before
Yeah,
this
I
gets
think
too diffuse. So,
Sure.
Susan, you can.
Well, I think that you've, at this point, addressed only 1/3 of the problem, because what happens when those trucks go out either onto Eldridge Parkway or go out to 28? Those are the other two elements of it, and you're accessing state highway.
Yes. And that's
As
where the
opposed to
that's
a
where the-
local road.
Absolutely, and that's where the traffic study came in, because it
The traffic study
evaluated all
does
of it.
address every intersection all the way out to the highway. This is the highlight issue of what the local problem is and where there were, quote, issues that could potentially need mitigation. The traffic study does address every intersection all the way out to the highway, as well as
Well, I'll tell you this,
going down the highway.
I mean, what Susan says is absolutely true. Particularly the intersection, which is going to change, I mean, they're going to change the road. But right now, the point where, of Eldridge Parkway and Tom's Hollow, I mean, that's, what is it? Lots Hollow. I mean, that's an absolute.
Please, that's another one.
Yeah, that's another one. Lots Hollow. I mean, that's an absolute disaster in summertime. I mean, there's
Even
cars
the
backed up
smaller
all the way down to Findlay.
Both those intersections are up for,
They're both modified, and we don't know how it's going to be. I only know how it is today. And Joe Citizen, who's entrusted us with looking after their lives, has been in that traffic jam. You know, they went to Agway to buy themselves a nice earthenware pot, and they spent an hour and a half trying to get back home again. So in July, August, it's easy in February. So you're right. I mean, I totally agree with you that this traffic. Sure, it's nice to be able to swing around that glass place, but the question is what they're going to do getting off Eldridge Parkway.
And this entire thing right here, I won't tell you that I have it memorized. It's about an inch thick and a few hundred pages.
You can read in 0.3 of a second.
Oh, no, we will know
Oh.
every page in there if we have a site assignment. Having been there before, I know.
Absolutely, and
We will know that.
I believe that I did present in front of you during the first site assignment. We do study, and all the roadways will be presented to you, the delays, the impacts, what's happening with them. Has to be presented because your board is charged with making sure that ingress and egress is proper. There's not vehicular and pedestrian safety. There's not impacts from vehicular emissions. There's all sorts of things within the regulations that we have to present to you and prove to you are okay. We do understand.
I just know how long it took for the redesign of Skakit Corners. I mean, that was a 7-year project, I think.
Well, that will help too.
What?
Two of them were because they didn't
Listen.
order the stoplights in time.
Any other questions? Sims, you must have a question.
Well, I mean, as someone who's in the construction industry, I recognize the need to dispose of materials. And I am an occasional customer of this facility. And I think it's a valuable service to the community, and I think there's the recognition that it appeals to a wider market, like the hardware store and the grocery store appeals to a wider market. It's not just Orleans residents, it's Brewster, Eastham, Wellfleet, Truro. But still in all, there are going to be aspects of this that, you know, I understand that you have professionals that have been involved in this project. They have designed this for you. They have, you know, they believe that professionally they've provided the answer to the solution. I need an impartial confirmation from someone. And it's, you'll forgive me for the colloquialism, but you don't ask the fox how many hens are in the hen house. So we need an impartial third party to evaluate some of these things. And I certainly look forward to presentations from your traffic engineers and the other people that are involved in your project. But I need an outside party to help me understand it and say, yeah, this is done right. This is over-engineered. Well, they may have under-engineered this because that's a really expensive piece of equipment. And we all understand that there's some give and take in this. I used to work for a subsidiary of the CMAS Corporation. So the waste ebb and flow is not unfamiliar to me. But it's a project that is primarily local. It's a local operation. I don't think this is something that, has a tremendous impact on Brewster or Harwich. But right now, the only resource I seem to have is the commission. I'm not inclined to say this is a project that needs to be referred because it's a regional project. I agree with you, it's primarily a local project. But that's my only resource for information. I need to learn how to tap it. And I don't want to make your application process any more difficult than it has to be, but I need to make sure that it's thorough because I've been elected to protect everyone in Orleans, not just the people who are opposed to the project, not just the people who are in favor of your project, but everyone. So I'm hoping that we can get technical support from the commission, thorough, analytical, technical support from the commission independently. So I don't believe another layer of review is mandatory here. I just need some technical report and support. And if now I don't believe financially the resources are available to the town of Orleans to go out and hire third-party technical support. I don't think the money's there. I don't think we can go out and hire an engineer to corroborate. So I'm hoping that we can get lots of support from the commission and hopefully accomplish that without another layer of applications.
Having been around this loop one more time, I've learned a few things. I've learned that the site assignment process is extremely valuable because it does put the burden on both of our parties to sit here and work out very carefully. And all you have to do is look at the last site assignment and address on a one-to-one common meeting place how this is going to affect our neighborhood. But I agree with Sims. And I think to get things off the ground, the more we allow the opponents of this process to have their moment in the sun and object to it, the better. And I do have a motion when we're at the point to do that. We can move it, and then you'll see what I have put together, and then we can decide to vote it up or vote it down.
Perfect. The motion will allow us to discuss things some more if you make a motion to do it.
My motion would be the findings are that the town of Orleans and the health department do not have the staff, the expertise, or the time to develop the materials, the analysis, and the information necessary for the Board of Health to make a proper and reasonable new site assignment. Finding number 2, the magnitude of the proposal and the increase in tonnage and building size is, in my opinion, a major modification in the proposal. Because of that, I move that the Board of Health, via a discretionary review, request the Cape Cod Commission to do a limited review and provide technical assistance, information, and analysis in order to best evaluate the proposal in order to make a site assignment. We request information on the following. 1, the proposed equipment and its internal equipment and its efficacy to remove the pollutants from the environment. 2, impacts of traffic in the area, a review of the analysis of the traffic associated with this proposal, the traffic associated with the entire industrial park, the traffic associated with the contiguous neighborhood, the traffic generated by the nearby landfill, and the impacts on traffic associated with the two major intersections, Finley Road, which is 28, and that corner, and Skaka Corner, which is Eldridge Parkway A and 6A. And we assume this raises our request to an elevation of technical assistance and limited DRI review.
I would second that. I want to say this on the record. First of all, I've got a personal debt of gratitude to Paul Daniels. You know, I don't know if you know, you were very, very good to me one time. Secondly, I think that the current activity there really have been very conscientiously done. I think you've been very good citizens. I think that though there was a lot of talk at the selectmen's meeting the other day about some minor infractions recently, I mean, that was kind of peanuts. I think that overall, I think it's been you've done a very good job. And I am impressed by your sincerity, and I believe that you will do a good job. So I'm in no way opposed generically. On the other hand, I absolutely agree with what Sim said, and what I think Mr. McCusick put in a very eloquent motion, which I'm sure she didn't just think of
I
this
didn't.
moment.
I've thought about this long and hard, and I know every one of these things causes you more time and expense, but I do believe this will be enabling at the site assignment time to let us get on with it and you get this project going. I firmly believe it, and we have done our due diligence, and we can all be.
Yeah, I think it's a very good motion, Gussie. I really congratulate you on it, and I hope that you kind of are on our side with us. We do need some third party.
I mean, you're not the only one there. There's an industrial park that's feeding into all that traffic too, and you should not be held up to standards and requirements that other people in that area are getting a pass on.
I just have one thought, and if I can share it with the board. I mean, there are two ways to go at this. We will be before the Cape Cod Commission. I think probably a DRI review isn't appropriate because it really isn't a determination of regional impact.
I didn't get the, it is or is not?
It is not,
It's
but
not.
I think, but there are two types of exemption. We have an exemption already. One is a minor modification of the exemption, the other is a major modification of the exemption. One requires, as we pointed out, I think, a public meeting, the other a public hearing. Either of those we think is the appropriate way to go. But, and I've talked a little with Steve about this. We haven't had a lot of time because the issue just came up. But I mentioned to him one other way that I have had success with, you know, the give and take, which is entirely appropriate between board and applicant. And where boards, because this isn't, of course, limited to Orleans, have limited resources, technical resources available to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that is for the applicant to provide funding for and this is often done particularly with new site assignments. It's a little less done with minor modifications to a site assignment, which increases, you know, the capacity, which is what we're talking about here. But there's no reason it can't be done. And that is to have the board hire, we wouldn't hire it, you would hire a consultant who's knowledgeable with respect to these matters. And we then would provide a stipend to cover that. And then that consultant, on behalf of the board, could work with the technical consultants on behalf of the applicant and, you know, essentially provide that kind of give and take and a sounding board for the board.
That is extremely generous
That is
good
one
offer.
way to approach it.
But let me tell you what that would mean for us. This board would then, having just gone through this, have to write an RFP for a consultant. We'd have to take the time to write the RFP, get it cleared by town council, get it cleared by John Kelly, advertise the RFP, review the applications that came in. I'm not kidding, this is the procurement process. Interview the people.
Because we're municipal.
And then bring them all up to speed. And now we are, you know, 3 months down the road. And I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any exceptions.
Well, I believe there is a monetary threshold on
Yeah,
that process, and
Yeah.
and if you're under that threshold, I don't know what it is, but
It's $9,900 and
well, so, you know, maybe there are a couple of $8,500 consultants. But I guess, back to discussion of the motion that's before us. I'm not sure that a DRI review is,
a limited.
well, I limited DRI, but there's,
Yes.
my understanding is that the foundation of a DRI review is in fact to analyze the regional impacts. whereas referring it as a major modification is a review of the project itself and not necessarily the regional impacts. And I get that distinction in reading between the lines in this letter.
Which one is this, Smith?
This is the Cape Cod Commission letter of '05. And I'll read it into the record. If the regulatory committee does not approve the project as a minor modification, the project is reviewed as a major modification to the approved DRI. This process requires a public hearing. This process allows the commission to approve the project with conditions, or deny the project. This process allows for the commission to limit the issues under review for the project. So under a major modification, they can review it within within certain limitations. They don't have to go through the whole project. The next paragraph, the discretionary referral process can be initiated by any permit granting authority in the town, as well as the Orleans Board of Selectmen or the Board of Selectmen in an adjoining town. If a project is sent to the commission for review, and I presume this is a regional review, as they use that word, the commission at a public hearing would need to concur with the town board that the project has regional impact and should be reviewed by the commission as a development of regional impact. They have to agree that it has a regional impact. And I'm not certain that this project is cut and dried, or the expansion of this facility is cut and dried as a regional impact. My feeling is that to the greatest degree, it's a major modification, and that the review under the major modification is the most appropriate because it is a review of the proposed project or aspects of the proposed project. And this letter does not specifically reference that review from a regional perspective. And what we need is review of the technical issues from a local perspective, the local traffic, the local environment. And so my feeling is that at the greatest degree, a review as a major modification is appropriate. The only reason that I would favor a major modification or review as a major modification is if it's the only way to get the technical support we need. And it's my whole perspective on involving the commission at all in this process is the technical support.
The resource.
The reason I made this motion is because I've had a conversation with several people at the commission and our commission representative, and I said, this is our dilemma. I look forward to working with the applicant when we sit down as a board of health and do the site assignment. Even though it's a laborious task, I think the time and energy that got put into that many years back came out for a better result, came out for the fact that, you don't get, complaints that we run down there 3 times a week.
And we will benefit to a large degree from that in this process.
So I said to these people, I said, your language is sometimes very confusing when you give me a letter. So this is what I need. I don't want them to have to go through that whole hoop jumping exercise in the first place. We've already determined that this is an appropriate use of this land, an appropriate service for the community, an appropriate place to put it. But there are people around that say you're doubling the volume, you're doubling the building. If that ain't major, what is? I think it's better to err on the side of having the ability to have a public hearing and look at things in a limited fashion and ask for very specific things that we need to make that site assignment. It sounds laborious, but I think in the end, it's going to help the site assignment.
And my point would be that if we asked the Cape Cod Commission to review it as a major modification, that's exactly what we would get. If we refer it to them as for limited review as a development of regional impact, first they have to find that it is in fact a development of regional impact. And if they don't find that, then we're not getting the support.
They're really arguing the semantics of numbers 2 and 3 in the listing that they gave us.
Exactly, and if this board has the appetite to ask the Cape Cod Commission to get into the review process, then from what I can understand from this letter, asking them to review it as a major modification is the most appropriate avenue. I'm still not convinced that we have to put the applicant through that process, because I haven't gotten the
then-
answer to the questions I asked Bob earlier.
Well, then I will strike from my motion the words limited DRI,
Major modification?
major modifications
To
there.
the approved DRI. It's a major modification to the approved DRI, right?
Yeah.
Because what happened, just in
Well, the
context,
approved
because
DRI, I would call it
because this is important, this
That's their wording.
context, and from the legal perspective,
Yeah.
what happened last time around,
Yeah.
because it was a while ago, was that the board didn't actually treat it as a DRI.
The commissioner, you mean
The commission, I'm sorry, you're right. They actually looked at it and said, no, this isn't a development of regional impact, and they granted an exemption
Well-
because of it. So what this would be a major modification of the exemption, saying, okay, let's look at it again and see if we still agree that it's not a development of regional impact,
Well,
which
then-
I think is the correct, actually the correct way to look
I changed my
at it.
language to talk
Yeah.
about a major modification of the exemption, and then call it a discretionary referral, and drop any references to DRI. And I'm limiting it to provide technical assistant information analysis, and then I list the 2 areas.
So in their wording, Gussie, and I'll still second it, I mean,
Okay.
we're all on the same page, it's just a matter of this
Yeah.
legalistic
I know what the
semantics.
wording says, and this
Okay.
is a form letter. I've talked to 3
You're happy with it,
people.
okay, then we're all right.
Yeah.
Okay, I will second that modification. Sims, does
I
that
don't
meet
think you have
your,
Well,
I mean, I agree with what you're saying.
And I am not, I guess I'm not prepared to throw it there yet. I mean, it's the selectmen are putting a lot of faith in the Board of Health, in their
With their
ability to
pats.
Yeah,
control
they
it.
really
And
put it
I'm-
into our lap.
And in one regard, I am flattered by their faith and their conviction that we're,
I
they were
don't
so
think that's why
confident.
they did it.
But I don't think so either. But the,
You really want
you
an
know,
obstetrician running around checking traffic, right? I mean,
the applicant is making a pitch to keep this at a local level.
Yeah.
And I understand why
What?
that's to their advantage. And there are certain aspects of it that make it to our advantage because we retain a little bit more control
We're
over.
still gonna do it. It's still
Little
gonna
bit-
be at our level.
Little bit more control over the process. But, you know, I am yet to be convinced that it must have full commission review. We must have some technical support, whether it comes from the commission or another resource.
Another source.
So, if you go forward on this, I will abstain from the vote because I'm not convinced one way or another yet.
Certainly, let me make a reference to Mr. Last's suggestion. I think that if we had a consultant, you know, I don't care if he glowed in the dark, I think that whoever it was, I think we'd have grave difficulty with many of the population in New Orleans who have very strong views on this. And I think that the idea of getting another recognized body of Massachusetts would be infinitely better for all parties concerned, and already I think that includes you. We have this menu, as far as I'm concerned, Sims, that we have to choose one or the other. I'm not willing to say that none of them are good enough. I don't know which to pick. I thought you were saying that the major modification was the way to go, and I was convinced by that.
If it is going to go to the commission, it should go as a major modification. And so I'm just making sure that if this vote goes forward in a positive direction, that it's done on the correct foot. And my feeling is that that would be the correct foot if we were to set foot on that path.
But if not the commission, then what? I mean, that's the question.
Well, can we get the technical support from the commission without the arduousness of the commission process?
I've been explicit as I can with the kind of information I think we need. And they may say, this is not within our scope and we can't do it. I'm most interested, their facility does not sit isolated down there. It sits in a residential community. That has an impact. There is a meeting place just up the street where several meetings a day take place with multiple cars going by. There's a moving company up there. There are other big places in the industrial park that big trucks in and out that don't even have noise pollution devices on there. I know the times that we get a noise complaint and we run over there and it's not even anywhere near their property. Guess what? It's a neighbor. There are other things over there that you guys are getting blamed for. And there are other people that are not being held to any standards. And
Well, and
have a motion on the floor.
I guess to that end, perhaps your motion and the consequences of it would attribute responsibility to a wider field. I understand that benefit. I think the applicant has demonstrated good faith, earnest efforts. I think they've been a relatively good citizen. I noted when we were there for the MIPA review that of the 3 trucks that came in or went out, that by far the Daniels truck was the quietest. That your customers' trucks were the real conversation stoppers, indicating to me that they have made an effort on the sound mitigation. I will not oppose your motion. I'm just not convinced that that's the only answer right now.
Yeah, if the motion's adopted, and I just wanted to make one legal clarification if I could. The term discretionary referral is a term of art that refers specifically to DRI process. So it would be a recommendation that there be
a referral.
or there'd be a recommendation that there be a major modification
Without the word,
process
without
or
that
review.
word in it. you mean.
Yeah, because direct referral does, it's magical to the DRI, that's all. I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
I'll remove that word as well.
Thank you.
I mean, the whole wording, all this wording is such mumbo jumbo that you have to forgive us if we're a little bewildered.
Well, it is challenging, truly.
We
I mean,
didn't even use any acronyms yet.
That's true. As an environmental attorney, I've tried studiously to stay away from those, because I know what they do.
Mr. Canning.
DRI is an acronym.
It is, yeah, that's true.
Yes.
What does it stand for? Oh.
Just with regard to the motion, and the letter that the board asked me to draft up, the items of major concerns also included potential air quality impacts, potential for the creation of nuisance, and threat to public health, safety, and the environment. They were, I don't believe they were in your motion. I don't know if the board means to include that or not, but
Well,
what you asked me to do last week included those.
I talked about the equipment and its efficacy to remove pollutants to the environment. That's air, water, noise pollution. I mean, they're not gonna comment on vermin and stuff.
But
If we
outside of,
used that same wording that we had in that letter, Bob, would it cover everything? Would that be one way of, I mean, the whole list of, there's a long list of stuff in that word.
I am not going to talk, I think it's absolutely ludicrous to turn to them for potential creation of nuisances. If we can't do that on a local basis,
Forget it.
that's what I feel.
We
I
have-
covered the others and I read them very carefully to make sure we,
I think so. I think we're ready to, I think we should vote on this. I think that we're getting tired too.
yeah, if I could just respond to
Yes.
the potential air quality impacts, I'll make clear if you limit it to the equipment on the Daniels site, you would then be excluding air quality impacts from material coming in, from vehicle emissions that are coming in and out of the site.
Mhm.
I want to make sure if that's what you intend to do, or were you looking at potential air quality impacts in general, including the Daniels equipment.
This will make it regional because those trucks come through Brewster, right?
It's regional. We've gone through it before too, and unfortunately, when you talk about trucks, they have emission standards that are governed by the state. You don't
And the
have
federal
control from
government,
the
yeah.
federal government and under the Clean Air Act, and that's about as much control as you have.
I'm fine with this.
Let's leave it as it is. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3-0-1.
I will abstain.
It does pass.
The commission is meeting on this, I believe, January 7th now.
Yeah.
Correct, it's been postponed from December 10th.
That's what we've been told.
So I will bring a draft letter to the board's next meeting for your review, including those comments.
You've been very patient for a long afternoon.
You might just send a quick email to Dora Fox that you are preparing a letter and what
I
your
don't have
overall
this
gist
machine.
is, so that we can talk to them about what we will be providing the Cape Cod Commission.
I'll talk to Dora.
Yeah. I mean, I tell you, the other day when we had the site visit, your frustration was so obvious. People were sort of needling about silly issues.
Well, it's the silly stuff that's involved, the bigger
Yeah.
issue than other things.
I think this is big, and I think it's We just need help. This board cannot make these decisions alone.
Is it worth, and I don't know if this is an idea that makes sense to the board, but is it worth talking with town council and seeing if there is a way that we can structure contracts, technical assistance contracts that don't run afoul of all the, because I know what you're talking about, all the complexities of public bidding process, because I do recall situations where there have been more limited contracts, and they could be given to two different people, one for traffic, one for, general engineering, where.
Well, Ware didn't go out to bid, and that was $32,000 technical.
So there may be some way to get a win-win around that and avoid the hassles.
I mean, our town executive says everything. I mean,
My personal perspective is that it's an avenue worth exploring, and it's information worth having in hand. So that if there's a time for the discussion, we're all prepared to have it.
I mean, it does allow us to do it in a way that has confidence on both sides. I mean, we truly have nothing to hide, and to the.
Trying to make the site of something go easy. Can you ask John Kelly under what conditions and what is the upper limit and, I mean, without having to write, I mean, we've just been through this hoop-de-doo.
I know, but
wastewater
he.
thing.
Certainly, there's plenty of, well, actually not on the Cape, but there are solid waste consultants that are doing peer review of our other projects, and we could give you a list of them. They range from the CDMs in Weston and Sampsons of the world to some more local ones that are doing a lot more solid waste projects now.
Why don't I check with them first, but if you want us that information, we'll have it.
Yeah. I mean, anything we can do to make this thing, as you say, transparent and
We're
effective,
gonna
we're
spend a lot
willing
of
to
time
do it.
together in the future, guys.
Right.
I'm certain of that. Listen, again, thank you for your help. You've been,
No,
great.
I think the word transparent is very important. I
No,
mean,
I
just
think
in the
so.
perception of
Absolutely.
your neighbors and, the people who feel that they're going to be most seriously impacted by it.
I mean, we're still hearing that this Board of Health paid no attention to the 1,000 people that signed a petition. I mean, I still hear it.
Mhm.
You always will.
Huh?
You always will.
I know.
Yeah. But that's the reason, by the way, why, although I understand the point about the complexity of it, we did submit that huge thing for the MEPA thing, which is way in excess of what normally is done. But again, and the whole thing was to start it off on a tone of full disclosure and transparency. It's so much better that way.
Which is smart.
Yeah.
Well, and the traffic study is a wealth of data,
Yes, there is.
but I don't know what to do with it.
Right.
And I know that the performance standards for the intersections, whether they're
Yeah, I know.
A, B, C, D, or E, or F, once you run off the end of the runway there, it starts skewing the math. Because if it's an E now and it converts to an F, well, an F
What
is
are
an
you
F.
talking
and it's
about?
They rate it like a grade,
They grade intersections.
I'm
How-
sorry.
How efficient and effective they are. And if, if it goes from an E to an F, well, is it a little bit of an F, or is it a lot of an F?
Capital F?
And so,
Beyond me.
my issue is I don't know how to study that. And so I understand how the 0.3 of a second can come up, but is that really an accurate representation of anything meaningful? And I'm sorry to harp specifically on the traffic, but I see that as one of the major issues.
I agree with you. Yes, it is one of the majors.
I'm
that is one
swimming
of
on
the
a pretty
majors.
deep ocean with a lot of big waves.
Right. And that's why
on-
we're
on
very
that
glad to
issue-
try
on
to
that issue.
address them.
Years back, the town took some of my land, and they didn't tell me they took it, but they took it. And when I questioned about it, they said they took it for the good of the community.
Oh, eminent domain.
Recycling is what?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's for the good of the community.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah.
And the law of the land.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize that you bailed out our land cap every day of the week.
See, the trouble with it, like any controversy, you're never going to hear the positives.
Oh.
You're always going to hear the negatives.
That's what we
And you
focus
have to
on. That's
judge
human nature, is
what the
to
negative.
focus on negative.
We are, once again, we're elected by everybody, including the most negative of the negatives, who are going to have the loudest voice. But we represent them, and we have to make sure that they get a fair
What
hearing.
we've noticed is, as a business community, that the business people don't have a fighting chance because of numbers. We're a retirement community, which everybody retires here for utopia. They want pure, clean, absolutely
but they want the services too. And that's what you're assigned. You've got a fine line to decide where services and what is the need of the retirement community, even though they don't want it. It's kind of like taking your kid and you say, you're going to eat that beans and not that candy.
I think that's an advantage of all of this as we do it, is to objectify it. And to the extent it's objectified, then it takes it out of the realm of speculation and arm waving into an arm of something that can be decided on in a realm. And that's the best way to do it, I think.
Well, again, I thank you. I think we need to move on. We still have a couple of other
We
agenda
still
items.
have some items on our
Oh,
agenda.
my goodness.
Well, we're going to have to take a 2-minute break because otherwise I'm going to have a big problem.
Bio break, as they call it this morning.
Bob has something to.
I just, while Greg and the Daniels, Attorney Laster here, we received a response to the Board of Health letter, our Health Department letter of November 20th. I just passed that out to the board. I do have some questions with the response. I know the board can't digest it now, but I probably will, Greg's right here, so I probably will draft a response to that, review it with the Board of Health at the next meeting, just with some concerns
If
to
you do have any
clarify some
questions,
points.
I know myself, Larry Highline, and Peter Floyd, who did draft the
Yep.
letter and signed the letter, are all in the office tomorrow. So once it's talked about and digested, if you do want to give us a call, I can get everyone on the same speaker receiver, and we can.
Yeah, I
We
just
will
wanna-
not be doing that today. This meeting's gone on long enough, and we're not going to get into this Mickey Mouse stuff, and that's what I think.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, a 5-minute recess for
Please.
personal comfort.
Let me ask this, how long do you think this, all we have to do is to discuss this the draft of the,
I can't hold it that long.
all right, 5-minute recess. We have a 5-minute recess.
On the air, on the air.
I just gotta stand up and move.
I'd like to do it, I'd like to have a 5-minute meeting and get it done with. I think we can.
Do you know what time my meeting started this morning? My meeting started at 7 o'clock in my living room.
You've still got an hour and 45 minutes before it's 12.
This is a record. This is a record.
Just be aware that your conversation now is.
Am I going for another term? Don't ask me now. I think it's a